And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lovelace versus Smith. Step forward.
21-year-old Edward Lovelace is suing his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Nicole Smith, and her mother, Patty, for misappropriating money meant to pay a traffic ticket.
Miss Smith, is this your daughter?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This gentleman was your daughter's boyfriend for a while.
Yes, he was.
He lived in your house?
Yes, he did.
When did he live in your house?
From March 9th, 2005 until December 2005.
Was he working at the time?
Not when he first moved in, he wasn't.
When
About
did he-
first 2 months, he was not working.
But he got a job.
Yes, but didn't pay rent except for 3 months.
When did he pay rent?
He paid $150 towards rent in June or July.
When next?
Before I left truck driving was in September. I'd say another $150 about August.
In August. And then?
And then he paid $300
When?
for December
December what?
15th,
When did he move out?
right before Christmas.
When next?
And then the $400 check, right when he moved out.
When?
About the 17th, I guess, of December.
So he gave you a check for $300 on December 15th, and he gave you another check, $400.
Right.
2 days later.
Yes.
All right, good. This is what the case is about, Mr. Lovelace. According to your complaint, you were driving a truck that belonged to your girlfriend, or a van that, don't speak unless I ask you a question, that was still in her uncle's name, but her uncle had given it to your girlfriend.
Yes.
You were driving,
Yes.
and you ran a red light.
Mm-hmm.
They caught you on the camera,
Yes.
and you got a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Ticket was $330?
Yes.
When did you get the ticket?
Oh, I believe it was the beginning of September.
And there was some problem because since the truck was in the uncle's name, arrangements had to be made to get the ticket in your name so that you could pay the ticket. It is your claim that you gave the defendants $400 to pay that ticket and whatever other miscellaneous expenses
They needed
there
cigarettes.
were.
Neither of them were working.
And they did not pay the ticket.
No, they didn't. They switched the ticket into my name.
When did they do that?
I'm not sure the date.
When did you do that?
It was about 2 months after he moved out.
So in February, you had tickets switched to his name.
Because there was...
Shut, don't! I'm not speaking to you.
Okay.
There was going to be a bench warrant.
I'm just asking you whether or not you switched the ticket
Yes.
into his name. 2 months later. Uncross your hands.
I cover my belly.
When were you notified that there was going to be a bench warrant for your uncle?
I was told by the plaintiff.
By the plaintiff?
That's not true, Your Honor.
Shh. When you're lying, you always make a mistake. Let me find the mistake.
Okay.
Okay? Because their story doesn't make sense to me. Okay. Their story of this $400 gift 2 days after you paid $300 in rent doesn't make sense to me.
He was moving out with no notice.
So what? He doesn't have to give you any notice. According to you, he lived there for 9 months and hardly paid you any rent. So you weren't relying on his money. He doesn't have to give you any notice. The reason he gave you the $400 was to pay this ticket, not rent. He had already given you $300 in rent, and the problem was you got annoyed with him for moving out. So you said, well, listen, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to use it for myself, and then I'm going to have the ticket switched in his name. They're going to issue a warrant for his arrest. He's going to have to pay it again. That's outrageous. Who broke up with whom?
I broke up with her, Your Honor.
Right. How did I know that? And according to you, he left you with some credit card stuff, that he charged things on your credit card. Is that right?
A couple things.
Couple of things that you were annoyed at.
No.
Well, you say here in your answer that you were annoyed at that.
No, I was just stating the fact that he owes me money too, but we both...
Well, he owes you money too. So what you're saying is he owes you money too, but he gave you $400 for the rent. Is that what you're saying?
He gave it to...
Baloney! He gave you the money to pay the ticket, and you had no right to use it for your own purposes.
He told us that he was giving it to us to pay the rent so we wouldn't get evicted and be on the streets.
Let me explain something to you, madam. He had just given you $300 on the 15th. That's according to you. 2 days later, he gave you another $400. How much was the rent?
Pardon
How
me?
much was the rent?
$600.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. Your conduct was outrageous.
Thank you.
He's finished with you. You have to say goodbye. Put a period. You're not supposed to do the wrong thing. And you did the wrong thing. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He wanted me to pay the ticket, and he didn't want to have to, or get the point on his license.
I asked her for the money, and she refused to pay it.
He told us when he gave us the $400 check that it was for rent. And then now he's saying it's for paying the ticket that he got in our band.
I paid rent that month. Why would I just give her an extra $400?
I just want it behind us. I never want to see him again.
Janet Knott is suing her niece, 25-year-old Danielle DiGiovanni, for an unpaid loan to get back on her feet after Hurricane Katrina. Danielle claims her aunt gave her the money.
Yeah, this is case number 219 on the calendar in the matter of Knott versus DiGiovanni.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
Miss Knock, the defendant is your niece?
Yes.
Is that your sister's child or your brother's?
Yes, my sister-in-law's child, my husband's sister's child.
Husband's sister's daughter.
Yes.
And it is your claim that you made a loan to her after Hurricane Katrina. She was a victim of Hurricane Katrina.
That's right.
And you loaned her $3,000.
No, I loaned her $5,000, but the maximum that I could sue for in the courts in the New Orleans area is $3,500.
So the loan was for $5,000?
The loan was for $5,000 originally.
And the defendant says you never made a loan to her. She received the money from you. It was a very generous gift. So I have a couple of questions for you. The money that you gave to her was money that you took out of savings?
No, I had to actually make a loan.
You took out a loan
Yes,
to give her the money?
yes.
From where did you take out the loan?
Originally, it was from my bank, and then I had it transferred to a credit card because for the first 6 months, it would be 0% interest.
So you are paying that back?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in a nursery as a horticulturist and gardening consultant.
How many people live in your household?
My husband, myself, my 2 sons.
How old are your sons?
One is 20 and one is 22.
Do they work, go to school? What do they do?
My youngest son is trying to prepare for college.
So he's
And-
preparing.
He's preparing right now. We have to get money together and everything for that.
And your oldest son?
My oldest son is working.
Your husband?
My husband works.
What kind of work does he do?
He has a degree in broadcast journalism, but he's working at a trucking company.
Okay, so you're a hardworking family.
Yes, we are.
Do you own your own home?
Yes, we do.
Have
It's
a
still not
mortgage?
paid for.
And what about you, Miss Giovanni? How old are you?
I'm 25.
What do you do?
I am a sales rep for a jewelry store in New Orleans as of 2 weeks ago.
And before that?
Before that, I was very ill throughout the beginning of the year. I did not hold a job because I was in and out of the hospital.
What was wrong with you?
I was raped in January. In February, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. Through my treatment, I got bit by a brown recluse spider. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, so I was on medication for most of the year, so I was unable to get a job.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was a manager at Sweet Fire and Ice, which is a Copeland's establishment that's really popular in New Orleans. I'd been with them for 3 years.
Okay. Now, Miss Knock, would you tell me about the circumstances surrounding this, according to you, loan?
We had altogether around 13 people in our house at one time after Katrina, and also their dogs, which had amounted to...
Your Honor.
Shh, don't interrupt her. Don't interrupt her.
Okay.
Don't read. Just tell me.
Oh, okay.
You had 13 people, family members.
Plus their dogs, like 7 dogs.
And these 13 family members, they were your husband's family members.
Yes.
They came to your home right after Katrina?
Right.
With their assorted pets, etc.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
But it was a little rough for a while. Danielle told me that she was going to be staying in the Atlanta area anyway because this restaurant that she was working for was opening up a new branch. So she had to find a place to live with her fiance and her little girl who was about 2 years old at the time. And she said she had
Who was
lost...
also staying with you off and on?
Off and on, yes, and I babysat her a lot also.
Okay.
And they ended up renting a house in the Atlanta area. She said that she was maxed out with cash and she was waiting for her FEMA check to come in. But she asked in the meantime if I could make her a loan of $5,000 and that she would pay me back as soon as she got her FEMA check.
Okay, and that was the loan.
And that was the loan, yes.
When did you give her the money?
It was on the 23rd of November. When I got the loan, I had that transferred into my account, and then I had $5,000 transferred into her account from my account. And I had to write a physical check for that, and I have that here.
I don't think that there's any issue as to whether or not you turned the money over to her. And she hasn't paid you any money back?
No, she...
Okay. Did you, Miss Giovanni, get a FEMA check?
No, ma'am, I have not received any money from FEMA.
Did your fiancé get a FEMA check?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
For how much?
I'm not exactly sure. We're no longer together.
When you were together, however, he got the FEMA check.
He got $2,000 prior to her dispersing the money into my account, Your Honor. We got there in September. When we first evacuated, we went to Texas for 3 weeks with my family.
Let me explain something to you.
Okay.
I'm not interested in your story, quite frankly. I'm interested in you telling me about your defense, which is this money was a gift. So I'd like to hear how the money came about.
The money came about because I was leaving to come back 3 days after Halloween. We came back to Louisiana. My aunt and I still kept in touch. She dispersed the money to me on November 23rd.
Well, explain it to me. How did that happen?
She said that she would help me. She knew that me and my mother did not get along, and she said that, you know, I know you don't want to stay with your mother. She said, well, I'll help you out. My cousin Anna, she went ahead and got a loan for her because her car was broken for $10,000.
Your cousin
Anna.
Who was that?
This lady sitting right over here.
Who cares?
I'm just telling you that $10,000 that she received from Anna, she said, I have an extra $5,000. I will put it into your account, and I will go ahead and help you get back up on your feet. I never once told her that when I received the FEMA check that I would be paying her back.
Why not?
It's not that. It was not discussed on whether if I should pay it back or anything like that.
Well, why would somebody who works very hard, who has 2 children, one of whom can't go to college because they haven't put the money together, give you $5,000 that they didn't expect to be paid back?
If they were trying to get him in college, wouldn't they have used that money to get him in college instead of helping me out? I'm sorry,
That's what you think.
But I wasn't living with her. I did not stay with her, Your Honor. I stayed there one night. I was there a week.
What difference does that make, Ms. DiGiovanni?
The difference makes, Your Honor, is that she was harassing my family and telling my family that she gave me the money and then I spent it on a breast augmentation.
Well, just a minute.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a piece of paper that says what?
That he paid for it as a
I don't care if he paid for it. Didn't you hear what I just said to you?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But
no, you don't. Not if you keep talking.
And later today,
when I first introduced Sarah to my wife, Sarah and my wife got into it. Sarah went after my wife, and my wife invited her to be in the wedding even after that.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janet Knox says her niece, Danielle DiGiovanni, owes for a loan to get back on her feet. Janet claims instead of paying her back, Danielle got breast implants.
After you got the $5,000 from her, did you have a breast augmentation?
I did, but I didn't pay for it. And I have proof for that.
I don't care who paid for it. I don't care who paid for it. You're talking about prioritizing. You mean some friend of yours paid for it? I assume, listen to me. I assume a male friend?
It was my boyfriend, yes, ma'am.
Well, your boyfriend. So if you have a brain in your head, you say to your boyfriend, listen, I don't need bigger breasts. I have to take care of my responsibilities. If you got an extra $5,000, and if you care about me, you'll repay my aunt, who was generous enough to help me when I needed it, and I'll get bigger breasts when I have more money.
Your Honor, it was a gift.
No, it wasn't a gift.
It was a gift. I have a piece of paper.
Listen to me. You have a piece of paper that says what?
That he paid for it as a gift.
I don't care if he paid for it. Didn't you hear what I just said to you?
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But
no, you don't.
No,
Not if you keep talking. If you have a boyfriend who has a brain and a soul and a sense of moral decency, and if you have a brain and a sense of moral decency, you say, if you've got an extra try to open up your ears. You want to talk. Open up your listening ears. You say to your boyfriend, sweetheart, I like my body the way it is. You like bigger-breasted women? You'll have to wait a little while, but if you've got an extra $5,000, I want to pay back my aunt.
It wasn't for him to pay back, Your Honor.
Listen, you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I certainly wouldn't have spent $5,000 on myself when somebody else had given me, because I was in a state of dire emergency, taken out a loan that she is currently paying back. This wasn't extra money. This is money she's paying back every month. And instead of her paying it back every month, you should pay it back every month. Certainly don't go in and get bigger breasts while somebody is sitting there paying back money that they gave to you during the course of an emergency. And I don't care if she's harassing you and your family, because quite frankly, you deserve to be harassed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500.
Thank you so much, Your Honor.
How do you guys choose and then step out?
For lying.
How can I give the money if I don't work?
When I found out from her grandmother that she had a breast augmentation.
I don't understand. If I'm going to pull the money out my...
I was shocked.
I became ill after my breast augmentation.
She had to have that done for her self-esteem.
I'm sure there'll be bad blood.
I really don't want to have anything to do with him anymore.
I'll threw the stuff out of my car and left.
She never liked him from the start.
No more friendship.
That's how it goes.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Plaza versus Kaplan. Step forward.
Car salesman Gadiel Plaza is suing former customer Kelly Kaplan for money she used on a down payment for a car. Kelly says Gadiel has been stalking her.
Mr. Plaza, you met the defendant when she came into the place where you work to purchase a car. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it is your claim that you made a loan to her for half of the down payment on a car when she prevailed upon you to do that because she was in dire financial straits. You want that $500 back. In addition, she caused you, really, according to you, to be fired from your job.
That is correct.
Just for my own information, where's the car?
It's in my possession, ma'am.
So you have the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Plaza, how long had you worked for this company?
Approximately a month and a half.
Before Ms. Kaplan came in?
That is correct.
Would you tell me the date she came in?
She came in on June the 10th.
Tell me about it.
Mrs. Kaplan came in on an appointment she had, and I was the salesperson who helped her. Upon picking a vehicle out of our inventory, while we were processing her financing forms, she broke down and began to cry. And I asked her, what's the matter? She said she felt bad because she was given a car, her car was getting repossessed and all that. So I asked her, then don't buy the car. It's okay. There's no pressure to buy the car. She made a couple phone calls and came back and decided we'd look for a different car, a less expensive car. So when we found another car, we had the same problem. She broke down again and she started to cry. And, I called my supervisor. He came over and talked to her a little bit. She agreed to buy the car. When it was discussed on the financial terms of the loan, we told her she needed to put down $1,000 to obtain this loan.
Okay, now that is agreed so far, Ms. Kaplan. There was a $1,000 down payment that was required for this car that you still have in your possession. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But you did not give him $1,000.
No, ma'am.
You gave him $500.
Correct.
And when were you supposed to give him the other $500?
I was supposed to give the dealership the other $500 on the 30th of June when I was paid.
And did you take the car out of the dealership around the 10th of June?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, well, that was very nice of them to let you take the car out without a full deposit.
Yes, ma'am, but it's not an unpracticed term in buying cars that people split up their down payments.
Listen to me. I've purchased cars. I didn't split up my down payment. Before they let me take a car out, I had to give them the whole down payment. That's my understanding of cars.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay, so far, she's shy $500. Tell me what happened, Mr. Plaza.
Company policy, the customer is supposed to bring the remaining...
Just tell me what you did.
On the date that the rest of the down payment was due, my manager...
Which was what date?
Which was 7 days after the 10th, the 17th.
Okay, 6/17. Manager came in and said, where's the other deposit?
Correct. I called Ms. Kaplan to find out. Couldn't get through to her. I, as a salesperson, am responsible for collecting all monies on the down payment.
So you laid it out for her?
Right. I asked her if, she could come in and pay the difference. And she said that no, she wouldn't have it till the 30th.
Okay. On the 30th, Ms. Kaplan, what happened?
Can I back up a moment, Your
No.
Honor? Okay.
No.
On the 30th, the money had already been paid by Mr. Plaza to
Correct.
the dealership.
So why didn't you give Mr. Plaza his $500 back?
I did not ask him to pay that money.
Who cares whether you asked him or not? That was your arrangement. Why didn't you give him back the $500 that he laid out of his own pocket?
I did not ask him to do that, and he had been harassing me, and I was uncomfortable with that. I called the corporate office, had filed a complaint with them, and they dismissed me of any obligation to them.
Well, I got to tell you something. You are not a very nice person. You're a hustler. You're a hustler. I don't know how many people you've hustled before, but you're not going to hustle me. You got a car, and the deal for the car was a certain price, $1,000 deposit, the rest in payments. And it seems to me, if you want him to stop harassing you, that on the 30th of June, you give him the $500. Instead of giving him the $500 on the 30th of June, you called the corporate office and had him fired. You're outrageous. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Some get clever.
It's the story. I'm sticking to it.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Others get hostile.
I'm going to tell you what happened.
Judge Judy gets the last word.
They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm smart.
Obviously, her case didn't have a leg to stand on.
I did not ask for him to pay the money. I don't feel I owe him the money.
I came here to tell the truth, tell my side of the story.
I did not ask him to do that for me.
I think justice was served.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Longobardi versus Alba. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Jacqueline Longobardi is suing her former online friend, 20-year-old Louis Alba, for an unpaid loan and for publishing risque photos of her on the internet.
Ms. Longobardi, according to your complaint, you met the defendant online when you were having some marital difficulties.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were still living with your husband, but you began an online chatting situation with the defendant, and it is your claim two things happened. First, that he borrowed some money from you. Not a lot of money, but you want it back.
Yes.
And second, you claim that very foolishly you sent him some photographs of yourself. Photographs that you would not want published.
Yes.
And he published them
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the internet. So you want to be compensated for that.
Yes.
Let's get the photographs first.
Okay.
Had you met him personally before you sent him the photographs?
No, I haven't.
Well, why in the world would you do something so stupid?
Yeah, it was an awful mistake.
Well, it was an awful mistake, but you sent him the photographs.
I felt like I really trusted him and that he cared
Why
about
would
me.
you really trust somebody that you never met?
Yeah, I was naive.
Well, you were, but you don't get compensated for that in the court.
Yeah, but he showed my family and my friends. It wasn't right for him to do that. They were
It wasn't
very personal.
right.
I know it wasn't.
Absolutely, it wasn't right.
Yeah.
But you can't stop him. You gave him the photographs. You gave him the photographs and you said, here, look at what you're missing. Stupid. That you don't get compensated for.
Yeah.
Now, just for my own information, why would you take these photographs and do anything to embarrass her?
I didn't take no photographs and embarrass her.
What'd
The
you
only
do with
photograph I had of her was her in a nightgown, and even that didn't show anything.
So what did you do with it?
I erased it. I deleted it as soon as she started getting depressed because I didn't love her.
You mean you put it on whatever you do with that
No.
machine that I don't operate?
No, I deleted them.
Okay. All right. So I don't even have to deal with the photographs. Because whether he published them or not, they're his photographs.
Well, she did. I mean, they showed my mother, my husband.
Well, that was your stupidity.
Yeah.
You showed them to a stranger.
Well, we were talking for months. I mean, it wasn't something I just instantly did.
Oh, I knew you for
He's a
months.
stranger.
He built up a lot of trust. And
He's a stranger.
stranger danger.
I mean, people who use this internet are so stupid. I just don't understand it. More and more, you hear more and more people falling into traps. People that they've never met. It's just mind-boggling to me how people could be so stupid. But anyway, I don't compensate people for being stupid, madam. So if you sent pictures to him, this stranger that you had never met, that you wouldn't want your mother to see, that's your problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, let's get to the money. When did you allegedly loan him money?
On April 10th, 2006.
How much money did you allegedly lend him?
$270.
Did you receive $270?
Yes.
What did you need the money for?
Well, actually, I needed $1,000 to hire a programmer for a personal business I wanted to run. But with the $270, I couldn't do anything.
So why didn't you return it?
I didn't because she said she was going to sell her car and help me with the $1,000. So I just kept it in the savings account.
So you mean you have it?
Or currently, no.
Well, what'd you do with it?
I paid internet bills and I had some other stuff I had to pay. So I just used it for that.
Well, that wasn't your arrangement with her, was it?
We never really had an arrangement. She just gave it to me as...
Well, no, she
for me
gave it
hold
to you
on.
because she said you needed it for your business.
Yes.
You didn't use it for your business.
I couldn't use it for a business. I needed $1,000, not $270.
Listen to me. You didn't use it for your business.
Yes, I know.
So why didn't you return it to her?
Because she told me to hold on to it until she can give me the rest of the $1,000. So over the
Well,
months I
now
was
she's
waiting
not
for
giving
it.
you the rest of the $1,000.
I know, and I told her if she would have asked me or contacted me, I could have gave her money back.
I
instead
did
of
contact.
Just so, don't interrupt.
I'm sorry.
She didn't even contact me.
Well, now she contacted you. Surprise,
Yeah.
you're here. What did
And
you
I
think
even
you
told
were
her.
coming here for?
I even told her that
What
I'd
did you
give
think
her
you
money
were-
back if she would just call off this case, because it's just a waste of time.
Of course it's a waste of time, sir.
Yes.
You asked if...
Yes.
Doesn't that hair in front of your face bother you?
No.
I must tell you, Mr. Alva,
Yes.
it bothers the people looking at you.
They don't like it?
Well, I don't like it.
Oh.
Feel as if I'm looking at you through a curtain.
Yeah.
You owe her $270, smarty pants.
Yeah.
You took advantage of her.
No, I didn't take advantage of her.
Listen to me.
But I
don't
didn't.
answer. Don't answer me back. Who is this?
Oh, she was my witness at the time. She gave me the 270.
Just a
She
second.
was there.
And who is this?
Which one?
Him.
Him? That's her father. He has nothing to do with the case.
Then what is he here for?
I don't even know. I don't even know why he's here.
You know, Mr. Alva, maybe if you had a more reasonable hairdo, you'd figure out what was going on, which way was up. You owe her $270. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They didn't take advantage of nobody.
All he wanted was money.
She gave me the $270, and that was it.
Pressuring me constantly, just trying to get that grand out of me.
Only picture I got from her was her in a blouse.
It was a mistake of mine. I deserved it.
Even that, I wasn't even wanting any more of her.
The internet isn't a safe place, absolutely.
Don't trust girls.
Will never trust anybody I've never met, ever again.
Scott Whitmire is suing his ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old Margaret Lamprich, for the down payment on a car and for the return of his property.
All rise. Now, this is case number 78 on the calendar in the matter of Whitmire versus Lamprich. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, Miss, have a seat.
Mr. Whitmire, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship, and it is your claim that during the course of that relationship, you loaned her some money for a down payment on a car. In addition to that, she has some furniture that belongs to you in the apartment that you shared, and you want it back.
Yes.
The defendant says that the money that you did in fact give her for the car was just that, a gift. It was not a loan. It was not anticipated that that money would be returned. She says that any furniture left in the apartment was also a gift from you. And she has a counterclaim. And the counterclaim is that you keyed her car, causing damage to her car. She has estimates that were extensive. And that you promised that you would pay for rent. And even though you're not living in the apartment anymore, you should pay the rent. You do acknowledge that you keyed her car.
Yes.
There's some indication that you paid her for that.
Yes.
You met her, moved in practically immediately, according to you. Is that right?
Yes, they
Should
were.
have been your first clue. When did you give her this money for the car?
Let me look at the check. I think it was the February 12th.
Date.
What's
No,
that?
don't come
Oh,
up
I'm
here.
sorry.
Get to me, you gotta go through Bird. Okay. So that was in February, $2,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Whitmire, while you were living with Miss Lamprick, how much rent were you paying?
I paid, I'll be honest, I paid
You're going to
about
be honest, sir,
3
because
months, 3 months of it. Like half the rent, so it would say $350, whatever it was, yeah.
for how many months?
For a duration of 6.
Show me.
I don't have nothing to show. I was giving her, she got a cashier's check, always paid it with, and I gave her the money.
I don't believe you.
Oh, well, okay.
What do you think about that?
Well, I got other things similar to the bills I paid with it.
Well, you got a lot of things. Show me proof of the rent. You do have a checking account,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we didn't write checks. She just paid
You
the
wrote a check.
I didn't
Here's
pay
a
with the
check.
rent. Didn't pay the rent with the check.
Here's a check.
Yes.
What are the bills did you pay?
Her Sprint bills, her cable bill, which I didn't bring that.
I don't care about the bills.
Well, I mean, it
could
don't
get a
have no
whole bunch
name.
of
I
bills.
just got
I'll-
receipts. Yeah, that's all I have.
Well,
Sorry.
that's too bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it for me.
Right.
You get that?
Yes, I do.
He thinks it's amusing. Who did you bring here?
You know what? No, this is Brian.
He thinks this is amusing. It hasn't even started yet. It hasn't started. Okay. Now, how much rent did he pay?
I've paid.
Well, just a minute. Don't look down.
Okay.
It's a simple question. How much rent did he pay from August until February?
I think he actually might have paid half of it for 1 month.
Now, why did you let him stay there if he only paid it once?
We were in a relationship.
Was he working?
Yes.
What was he doing with his money?
He bought electronics and toys and a couple trucks.
A couple of trucks?
Yes, he had bought 2 different vehicles while we were together.
Did you buy them from a private individual or from a place?
Same dealership.
From
Royal
a
Gate.
dealership. You gave them a...
Check. Right.
Now, Miss Lambrish, just so I understand this, you want him to pay the rent in your apartment because he said he would, even after he moved out?
The back rent for the 7 months he lived in my apartment.
The back rent that you never asked him for while he was living there, month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is that right? And the back rent that you didn't ask him for when he gave you the money for the car. Is that right?
Correct.
Forget it. Okay. Now, Tell me about your version of this $2,500 car down payment, Mr. Whitmire.
Well, it started out, there was a car that she didn't want, a Cavalier, and so we had to have a bigger down payment for a better car. The car she got is a Seabreeze convertible. So they had to have a $3,500 down. She put $1,000, I had to put $2,500 down. I said I'd loan it to her, and I told him the same thing.
I don't care what you told him.
Well, I just gave her a loan for $2,500 for the car. That's,
In February.
yeah,
When did you and the defendant break up?
March 13th, exactly. I know the date.
And when was she supposed to return this $2,500?
Well, I just said pay whenever you can pay, a little at a time. You know.
Just a second. Stop.
I'm sorry. Too much coffee.
You said pay it whenever you can pay it. Is that what you said to her?
Pay it well pretty fast. I mean, she was I didn't know we were going to break up.
Is that what you said to her? Pay it pretty fast.
Well,
I'm asking you about the $2,500.
I don't know exactly how I said it, but I said pay it back. Yes.
And what did she say?
Thank you for the car. Yeah. Basically.
Right. What's your name?
Brian.
You get it, Brian?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Right. He's his own worst enemy.
Yes, I know he is.
Yeah. Now let's get to your personal property.
Okay.
What?
You brought this guy as a witness.
Yeah, he did. What personal property do you say she has in the apartment that's yours?
Couch, every single thing, but her
Couch?
bed. Yeah. I have a list here. I give it to you. You want all the receipts too?
No.
No?
Just tell me. Couch?
Okay. Couch, just let's say everything in the apartment except her bed is mine.
You mean everything that was in the apartment you paid for?
Yeah. Which is everything, yeah.
Why didn't you take it when you left?
I had nowhere to go with it. At first, we broke up.
Just a
Long
second.
story. Okay.
Is that why you didn't take it? Because you had nowhere to go with it?
Right. I didn't have nowhere to put it until I got
So
my
what
house.
did you, just a second.
Okay.
So you left.
No, she kicked me out. I was kicked out. Yeah.
She kicked you out.
Mhm.
And when she kicked you out, you had your clothes, you
Mhm.
had certain things, personal things you
Right.
took with you.
Some, yeah, yes.
You
Some.
took with you. And what did you say to her with regard to the other stuff that you left in the apartment?
I said I needed it back.
And what did she say to you?
She said okay. Yes, she did say okay. At one time. But she never released it. She would never give it up.
Well, when did you go back for it?
I tried a few times.
Well, when? When was the first time you went back for it?
You mean dates? I'd say just...
Dates is what it usually when. It usually
Okay,
says date.
Let me think. About 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 3 different times. Yeah.
So just 1 second.
Mhm.
So 3 to 4 weeks ago, you went back for the first time.
I've been there like 4 or 5 times since them 2 months.
Are you not hearing me, sir?
No, I didn't.
Are you take some sort of medication
Not
that I
today.
should know about?
No. No.
After she kicked you out,
Mhm.
she must have had what she considered a reason for that.
Mhm.
I can think of several. You went back and you got your property, but you left some things there.
Yes.
When, for the first time, did you call her and say, I want the rest of my stuff?
A bunch of times, to be honest. Yeah, she would never answer the phone or you can't call her. That's
Go
the
ahead.
problem.
I had an ex parte order granted, so yes, he did call me constantly.
What did he say constantly when he called? Did he want his furniture back?
No, he did not. I have letters stating that I can keep everything in the apartment.
Let me see.
All the receipts are in my name. But we had a police escort come to let him get his things. They did the police officer. She can have anything else in there. I don't want anything else.
Well, he says you can have almost everything at your apartment. That's not everything.
He came and got what he wanted out of the apartment when we had the police escort there.
What did he leave?
Computer, desk, shelves.
Just a second.
Some,
He left a computer. How old is the computer he left?
I have no idea it was his.
How old is the computer he left?
About 2 years.
So you bought this computer 2 years ago?
Mhm.
And you brought it into the relationship with you, is that right?
Everything on my place, yeah.
Just a second.
Yes.
You brought it in with you. When
Yes.
he gets his computer back, what else did he leave?
Some just miscellaneous, little things.
Like what?
Like kitchen utensils and
Forget
things
kitchen
like that.
utensils.
And
What about furniture?
He replaced my furniture. He got rid of my furniture. And he had stated that this was my early Christmas present and that he was going to replace my furniture.
So you got rid of the other stuff?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that when you purchased the furniture? Before Christmas?
I'm going to say more in November.
So it was an early Christmas present. So she got
No,
rid
it
of
was
her
not early.
furniture.
I got it because...
Just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She got rid of her other furniture.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yes, we threw it away.
And you purchased other furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Good. That stays with her.
Okay.
Because otherwise she wouldn't have gotten rid of her other stuff.
Well, the cat smells like cat urine. That's why.
Well, that was her cat, I assume.
It's horrible.
Well, then you shouldn't, listen, if you didn't like the smell of the furniture, then you shouldn't have stayed in the apartment. But right now, sir, you don't tell somebody, I'm going to get you new furniture, just get rid of the old stuff.
Well,
I mean, I know you anticipated staying there. Based upon that promise, she got rid of the old stuff. And if you take your furniture back now, she has nothing.
So what?
Duh.
I don't
Okay, but
care.
he does get his computer back. Okay. Now, why did you key her car?
I was trashed, and she was cheating on me. Yeah.
Well, you were no longer together.
Well, she didn't tell me that, so I didn't know.
You weren't living in the house.
No, not that. Well, like a couple days difference, yeah. Well, I just trashed when I keyed her car, yeah. And I was on punch painkillers. So I really don't know what the heck I was doing then.
I don't know what you're doing here.
Huh.
Did
Good
you give her the
question.
$2,000 to
Yes.
show me?
Okay. I gave $1,000 to her dad, and I gave her $1,000 when they came over to pick up the furniture. The guy who gave her the money from Aaron's, the place with the couch.
What? Did you give her money
Yes,
to...
I gave her. I couldn't give it directly to her. I gave it to the delivery guy, and he handed it to her. And he signed statement, and he got his phone number on there, showing he did that.
I told him to take it back. He was served with the ex parte order that day, and he threw money into my apartment, and I said, take it. Because he told me all he wanted was his big screen. He's like, I'll give you $1,000 if you let me take my big screen out of here so it doesn't have to go through court. I said, take your money, take your TV. Just, I want to get this over with.
Listen to me. If you told him to take his money and take your TV, I just want to be finished with you, why are you suing him now?
I hadn't gotten estimates. I hadn't noticed my card been
Doesn't
keyed
make
till
any
after
difference.
this had happened.
What do you mean you hadn't noted? I don't care about estimates. Had he keyed your car at the time he gave you the money?
No.
Okay, when did he key your car?
The police report was filed April 10th.
I didn't ask you when the police
So
report
it
was
happened
filed.
about
I asked you when he keyed your car.
Happened about a week prior, so probably on the 3rd of April.
Afterwards, there was money handed to you by somebody who came in to make a delivery. Is that right?
I'm assuming.
Is that right?
Okay.
I'm asking you.
I don't believe so.
What do you mean you don't believe so?
I don't believe it was after he had keyed my car.
It was.
Okay.
What was the money for?
He said it was to take his TV out and not have it go through court to get his things.
What did you do with the money?
I used it to pay bills.
So you kept it. Use it to fix your car. John, you gave her the money
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
car
Well, it
key.
was $2,000.
No question.
Okay.
Scott Whitmire claims ex-girlfriend Margaret Lamprich owes for a loan and the return of property. Margaret is countersuing, claiming Scott vandalized her car.
What else?
Stereo speaker, tower speakers.
Stereo speaker, that
The
goes...
desk, the shelves.
Desk? Are the shelves...
Microwave.
Listen!
Okay.
Got to stop taking all that stuff, sir. It's making you nervous. You understand?
Yes,
You're going
ma'am.
to spin around the room. It's not good for your heart.
Okay.
And Brian knows that, right, Brian?
He says so,
You
Judge.
head in
What?
my head.
Yes, Judge.
We can harness your energy. We could run Canada. Okay. She is not giving you the furniture so that she has no furniture because she got rid of the furniture based upon your assurance that you were replacing the furniture.
Okay.
There are certain things that you came into the apartment with that I am prepared to see that you get back.
Thank you.
Brian will retrieve them
Okay.
without you because there is a restraining order. Is Brian normal?
I have no idea. I've never met him in my life.
What do you do for a living, Brian?
What I do for a living? We work at
That
a
was
bar.
my question.
I work at a bar and restaurant
For how long?
for 14 years.
Same place?
Yes.
Relatively normal. Got it? Except for his choice of friends. Other than that, I think it would be okay if he came for the computer, the desk that the computer sits on, his stereo equipment, all of his office stuff. Within 5 days, or let's make it 5 days from today, you'll set up a time with Brian, who'll come over alone and get the stuff, right?
Sure.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's all.
Please excuse. You may step out.
He was stalking me.
She's already violated restraining order, called me a couple times.
He'd show up at 3 o'clock in the morning drunk.
She'll probably be calling today, probably.
He's crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Siri versus Carvello. Step forward.
24-year-old Samantha Siri is suing her ex-boyfriend, 25-year-old Michael Carvello, for an unpaid loan for a plane ticket. Michael says The ticket was a gift.
Mr. Carvello, how old are you, sir?
25, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a bouncer at a bar.
And how long have you been doing that?
Approximately 8 months.
What did you do before that?
I was working part-time, just odd jobs.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Police officer.
What are you doing in order to train yourself for that?
Just taking classes right now, going through schooling, extra schooling.
What extra schooling? Don't play with me. What extra schooling? You need a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree?
You don't need neither for...
So what classes are you taking?
Just side criminal justice type classes.
Where?
Community college.
What courses are you currently taking?
Administration of justice.
Yes.
And law classes.
How many classes are you taking?
2.
Administration of justice.
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
Introduction to law.
Okay. You met the plaintiff. According to you, she made a gift to you of a plane ticket.
Correct.
She says it was a loan. She wants her money. When did you meet her, Mr. Carvello?
I believe it was late October, early November.
And what did you need a plane ticket for?
The plane ticket was for a trip to Phoenix, Arizona.
For what?
Just to go along with a friend for a weekend trip.
Why were you going with your friend to Phoenix, Arizona if you couldn't afford to go?
He was going to see some family, and I wanted to go along with him.
Well, why were you going, sir, if you didn't have the money to go?
Just to accompany him, have a weekend.
You didn't have the money to go?
That is correct.
So what did you do?
I mentioned the situation to Samantha.
Well, what did you say when you mentioned the situation, Mr. Carvello?
I told her I had a friend of mine going to Arizona, and I'd like to go with him. The plane ticket was a little bit of money, and I didn't quite have it, and she had offered to...
No, the plane ticket was a little bit of money. We're talking about words. Plane ticket was a little bit of money.
Correct.
Did you tell her how much money?
Approximately, yes, I did give her a range.
Well, did she give you a range of money, or did she buy the ticket?
No, she gave me a range of money, Your Honor.
What range of money did she give you?
$325.
How much was the plane ticket?
I believe it was about $300.
Well, Mr. Carvello, you just told me a moment ago that you didn't quite have the money for the plane ticket. How much did you have?
I couldn't afford it.
No, that's not what you told me. You told me that you told Miss Seri that you didn't quite have it, which would suggest to a person of reasonable intelligence who wants to be a police officer that you had most of it, but you were short a little bit. So how much did you have?
Maybe $100. Some spending money, maybe.
You get where I'm going?
Vaguely.
Now, when did she give you the money, sir?
I believe it was around the middle of November.
What date?
Right around the 15th, I believe.
And you went when to Phoenix?
Towards the end of the month. I believe the 23rd, 4th.
Between the 15th and the 23rd, did you see Miss Seri?
Yes, a few times.
When did you finally decide that she wasn't for you?
It was a little bit after I returned from the trip.
So right after she gave you the money?
You could say that.
Mr. Carvello, we don't like amoral bums to be on the police force, sir. Amoral bums belong doing other odd jobs. You have a copy of the check?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Mr. Carvello, you're really very fortunate that I'm not wiping up the floor. Because if you're in a committed long-term relationship and somebody wants to be nice to you and make a gift to you of some money for something that is a non-essential thing, like joining a buddy to go on a weekend, I can see maybe in that kind of a relationship there's give and take. But if she gave you this money, and shortly after her giving you the money, according to her, she went into the bar where you work and you totally ignored her. Is that what happened?
We went out together, another bar where he doesn't work, but then after that was completely rude, and then I had no more contact with him.
Then it seems to me that what you do is you say, I'm going to give you back the money, even though we didn't have a time frame or whatever. But this was, in fact, a loan. He did say he was going to return it to you.
Yes, he did.
When did he say he was going to return it to you?
In about a week.
Yeah. Mr. Carvello, either you have to do something to buttress your moral fiber, sir, or you have to pick a different profession.
Sure.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $325. Would you do me a favor? Find him the door.
That I can do. Parties are excused. You may step out.
I informed the plaintiff that I didn't have the money for it.
He just thinks he's the most charming person in the world.
And she agreed.
And I don't like being taken advantage of.
I view it as more of a gift, definitely.
He's a jerk, and he doesn't want to pay the money.
He bought a car. Her granddaughter, Jennifer Davis, says it's hers. They've stolen it back and forth a lot of times. The question before the court, who's gonna get it?
Order. All rise. This is number 48 on the calendar, matter of Dombrowski versus Shoemake Davis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
All right, so let's get the genealogies fixed here first. This is your granddaughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is your son-in-law?
No, Your Honor.
He's her father.
Not as far as I'm concerned. He's not. He was never. Her father is named. I've just met this man about 2 weeks ago.
Never met him before?
Never met him before. Never knew about him up until maybe 2 years ago. So I don't think that that's her father. I don't consider him her father.
Is this your father?
Yes.
Well, she considers him. You say that your granddaughter stole a car from you.
Yes.
Your granddaughter says that you purchased a car for her as a gift, and you stole the car from her.
No, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to just trying to set the stage for this case so that I understand it. And you, sir, I don't know how you get into this act. Let me see. You've got a complaint here for harassment against her. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Okay. Start from the beginning.
Well, I'm in that National Breast Implant lawsuit. I had my implants removed. It's been going on for 5 or 6 years now. Well, I received a settlement, an advance payment on that of $5,000. Because I was going to see my granddaughter and my great-granddaughter, I had to go to Salt Lake City from Las Vegas, where I reside for 30 years. I had to go see my attorney up there, Wilcox, Dunsnip and King, to collect the money. Because I was going to be visiting with my granddaughter, and for maybe 2 weeks.
This granddaughter?
This granddaughter. I didn't want mail coming to my post office box in Las Vegas. So I had them send it where she was residing with Mr. Shoemake.
That's you.
So they sent the envelope, a check over to him, which was a big mistake. They sent it in care of him on the envelope.
Which check?
My $5,000.
Okay. So you got the
advance
check.
payment.
You got the
they
check.
They called me. I flew over to get the check and take it up and let the lawyers get their money. So Jennifer was working about 10 miles away from her home. So
That's
she
Jennifer.
needed a car. I needed transportation. She couldn't find anything that she liked. I found this car in the paper. And so I called, and then I had her call. And we made arrangements to go see the car and purchase the car. So I went. She didn't want anything to do with this car. She had another car in mind. She had a little, it was a yellow cab driver, had a car, but it was damaged. We found that out later. So I purchased the car for $850. I got his a handwritten bill of sale from him. So we needed it licensed because of the transportation problem she was having. I didn't have a Utah driver's license. So to get the insurance and get the plates, I shouldn't have done it, but I used Jennifer's name.
You put the car in her name.
Well, no, I was the lien holder on the title.
No, but you put the car in her name.
At the insurance company and the Department of Motor Vehicles.
So
but
now the car is registered in her name with you as the lien holder, just like you were a
correct.
bank.
Yes.
Okay.
And so everything was okay. I sent my daughter a round-trip ticket from Las Vegas to Salt Lake to visit with her daughter and granddaughter. That day, I had already rented a motel. I have the receipt. I had previously rented this motel so that my daughter could get some rest without being around a
No,
young
what I want to
child.
know is, who was driving the car?
Well, I was at the motel the first night.
So
I
you had the
left.
car with you?
Yes. And I went to the motel, and I had fallen asleep. I was very tired. I'm disabled. I have quite a few different illnesses and asthma, and stress. I've had 2 heart attacks. I can't take that stress. So anyway, I fell asleep on the couch. I hear a car. It's their off-season. My car was the only car in the parking lot. I hear a car start up, and it woke me up. When I got up, I looked out, and I see Jennifer backing out of the car, so I opened the door to see what was the matter. She had I had given her a set of keys so she could run back and forth to the store or, you know, whatever, you know, when I was at the house. And as far as I knew, there was no problem, so I opened the door. But when I opened the door, he was standing right in the door with his hands in his pockets like this. And when I opened the door, he hit me like that with his shoulder. And then he hit me like this and knocked me back. He would not let me out. He's calling me all kinds of vile names. I'm disabled.
Had you had any discussion with your granddaughter before this?
They didn't say anything.
Just a minute, let you tell me,
honest,
sir.
as far as I was concerned, I was totally shocked.
So they took your car?
So I said, hey, now you wait a minute. So I ran in, I slipped on the ice, I ran into the motel, and I said, call 911.
You mean at the office? You went into the office?
And the landlady, our manager, she called the 911. Well, he followed me in there. He was still threatening me physically. And so he held me off. Well, of course, then he takes off. They take off. And the police finally get there. I made a police report with them. They said because of the situation that I couldn't file a stolen car report.
Because it was in her name?
Well, both names.
No, it wasn't in both names. You're the lien holder.
You're right. And so, but I had as much right to the car as she did.
No, you don't. No, you don't. The person, as far as the police are concerned, the person in whose name the car is registered is the owner of the car. You may be the lien holder. It's just like if a bank has a lien on your car. They can't just come to your house unless you're in default of loan, unless they go through a court proceeding first and take your car back. You know, there are procedures. Well, that's what a lien holder is.
Well, the title is going to be in my name and being sent to Las Vegas, Nevada, in care of my post office box.
It may, listen, that may be what you think, but right now it's registered. At this moment, it was registered in her name.
That's right.
In Utah.
That's right.
Okay. How long had you had the car in your possession before the evening when she took the car from the motel?
Approximately 2 weeks.
And during that time, she drove the car sometimes when you were visiting her?
No, she asked permission.
And she had a set of keys that you gave her?
Yeah, but she always said, Grandma, can I take the car?
Okay. And you hadn't had a fight with her before?
No, I was totally shocked.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Patsy Dombrowski bought a car. Her granddaughter, Jennifer Davis, says it's hers. They've stolen it back and forth a lot of times. The question before the court, who's gonna get it?
Jennifer, let's hear your end of the story.
Well, for starters, I know that my dad didn't assault her because I was standing right there.
Just
she
tell
never
me
even
what happened
fell.
with the car.
Well, the car, we got that in my name because of the fact that she bought it for me and for my daughter.
Well,
to give
tell me
around.
how that came about. She says no. Tell me how that came about. She came down to
Because
visit.
I'm in the middle of going through a divorce and I didn't have a car and I didn't have any way to get to work. And she told me that she'd help me out with a car. And when we went and got this car, he came down and I test drove it. I had him go down and get the emissions and stuff done for me. And we got the car. We went and got the insurance done. It's in my name. This is in my name, but my mom came down, and I think that she's just taking it out on me because she's mad at my mom about her not going to the doctors. That's the only...
Just a minute.
I don't know.
I'm missing something. Jennifer, I'm missing something. Your grandmother has this car for less
We had
than...
it for 3 days.
So you had it for 3 days.
And she took it from me.
How
And
many
then,
days was your grandmother sleeping at the motel?
That was the first night that she had been there when we went to get the car back.
Why did you ask your father to go with you?
I didn't have any other way to get there.
Why didn't you wait until the next day?
To get my car? Because I had to go to work the next day.
No.
Yeah, I went to
No,
work.
there's something here there's something here that I'm not getting.
I went to work the next day, and she came into my work and totally freaked out in front of all my customers and in front of my employers. I mean, it's...
Jennifer, didn't your grandmother tell you when she came down she was going to spend some time in Utah that she needed some transportation?
No, she told me that she was coming down to Utah, and I told her I wish that you would move down here so that Mom would move down here so that we could get them settled down in here out in Utah, because Las Vegas it's just messing them up. And I told them that they needed to come down here. Well, that other car that she's talking about that was from in the taxi cab is the one that she was going to buy. But when we went down there to look at it, it was all messed up, and I said, Grandma, you don't even want to buy a wrecked car that's been wrecked. It's just not even worth it. Well, yeah, okay, that's fine. And then she was supposed to be staying with us for the rest of the time. So yeah, I gave, she wanted a set of the keys, so I gave them to her because she had been driving me to work and dropping me off so that she had some way to get around with my daughter, because she had been babysitting for me, because I don't even have a babysitter for my daughter, I mean, usually, so.
Ms. Dombrowski, why do you think this terrible thing is happening to your family? I quite frankly don't understand it. You were staying with each other, and then you decided to go to a motel. Why did that happen?
Well, there was 5 people, going to be 6, in a 2-bedroom place with me sleeping on the couch, with no privacy, 1 bathroom. I'm just used to a lot better than that, and I could afford it, so why not do it?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Patsy Dombrowski bought a car. Her granddaughter, Jennifer Davis, says it's hers. They've stolen it back and forth a lot of times. The question before the court, who's gonna get it?
Let me ask you this question. How did you get around in Las Vegas where you live?
She's got 2 other cars.
Shh. I'm not speaking to you. How did you...
well, they're not my cars, they're my daughter's. I have a title here that my daughter bought these 2 cars.
You live in Las Vegas with your daughter?
For 30 years.
With your daughter?
No, my daughter's lived there since my 93.
Do you live in the same house?
Yes. We reside in the same place.
And between you and your daughter, how many cars are attached to that household?
They're hers. She signed them over to me.
How many cars do you have?
2. 2, but they're not operable. They're not. There are 2 cars that belong to my daughter.
And 2 of you that live in the house?
No, I don't. They're not. You can't. Yes, there's 3 people who live in the house.
Who's the other person?
His name is.
And how is he related to this group?
He's just a kind of a landlord, I guess. Yeah, they're 3. It's a 3-bedroom, big mobile home. It's not any clandestine involvement there or anything.
And what kind of car does he drive?
He had a Jeep Cherokee.
And what are the other 2 cars that are attached to the house?
Well, they were going to make 1 good car out of it. I don't drive.
What are the other 2? If you don't drive, then what do you need a car for?
Well, I bought this car because for $850, it was a good car.
And how are you going to get it home?
Drive it.
No, you weren't. Something
or
else,
have somebody drive
something else happened here, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. But if you had 2 old cars that at home that weren't working, you don't go down to Utah and buy a piece of junk for $850, because that's what you get for $850. Nothing more than basic transportation. No, for $850, you get maybe a car, what we used to call in the suburbs a station car.
Well, it's
which means it takes you to and from the station if you pray.
Well,
it's not to drive from Utah to Las Vegas. I have a problem with your story, Ms. Dombrowski. I really do. I really have a problem with your story.
Yeah,
now,
she
look.
doesn't even have a Nevada's driver's license.
Listen to me. Listen to me. That doesn't say to me that it was the right thing for you to do to go and take this car out of your grandmother's driveway in the motel, Jennifer. You understand that?
Yes, and I tried to talk to her about it that night. I called her, and she wouldn't even accept our calls. I mean, I tried to talk to her to see why she would do something like that to me and leave me there and then not have any way to work or
But you hadn't had any way to work for the... Listen, a week before she bought this car,
right.
You had no way to work.
He was on his... I had moved in with him just barely, and he was on his Christmas vacation with the New Year's and everything else, and I had him driving me to work.
So?
And I knew that I needed a car.
What I'm telling you is you got along for a while before your grandmother got there without a car.
Exactly.
So, we're talking about you had the use of a car for 3 days.
It had been longer than that.
Didn't you tell me 3 days?
3 days is the first time she took it, and then I had it for a week when I went and got it back, and then she took it again, and she still has the car now.
Do you still have the car?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
I didn't get to tell my
I
story.
repoed that car legally.
Oh, so how'd you get the car back?
She took it from the mall. She stole it from me from the mall.
I filed a police report.
Yeah.
And they told me, like I'm saying, in small claims court, that I had a legal repossession. There was no payments ever made. That car legally belonged to me.
So what are you suing her for?
I'm suing her for the week that they caused me the loss of my automobile.
Get out of here.
Well,
Come on, give me a
they
break.
had the car.
So?
Now I have it back.
Even if I did owe her money for
No,
the
no.
car.
No. You
in
have the
3
car
days,
back.
How could I make a payment in 3 days even
Just a
if I
sec.
did owe her?
Listen to me.
I had to spend 2 extra weeks up there. I had to spend 2 weeks in Salt Lake City that I wouldn't have had to spend had I had the car, if she hadn't have stole it.
Yeah, I'm not entering a judgment against her for that. You have your car back? You
Yes.
have the car back? Fine.
Yes, I do.
Judge.
Now tell me about this nonsense countersuit that you have, sir.
Well, basically, it's just what she filed against us is a counteraction. I don't know what, I've never done this before, so I was.
You mean because she sued you, you decided to sue her?
Yeah.
For what?
Well, she did harass me at work.
Well,
she did.
so is that what you? So is that what you're suing for? For harassment? Well, what did you do? Shh. Quiet. So what did she do?
She was calling from a friend of hers house, and we have caller IDs on all the phones at the company I work for, and she would wait till I picked up the phone and then just hang up. I knew it was her because the name was on the caller ID. And she started asking the secretary, our office coordinator.
Don't tell me what she said to the office coordinator, because unless you were listening and on the phone, were you?
No.
So you can't tell me what she said to any office coordinator. How else was she harassing? She was calling you. Is this when your daughter had the car?
No, this was after. Yes, it was after we got the car back.
This was after you got the car back.
Yes.
So she was calling you at your work after this night at the motel.
Yes.
Good. Got your car? Good. I don't know what happened to this family. I haven't a clue as to what happened to this family. It just sounds like a real tragedy to me. You know, you spent time with your granddaughter and your great-granddaughter. Everything was fine. Something happened. Seems to me you should go see a good counselor and sit down and try to figure out what it was. Quite frankly, I don't have time to do it myself. This lawsuit is dismissed, as is the countersuit. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
Back go to your right.
My daughter was married when this child was conceived and born to another man. What can I say?
I think it's all a total joke. She needed to take something out on my mom. That's what she needed to do. She wanted to take it out on my mom, and she couldn't, so she decided to take it out on my mom's kids.
I was totally shocked. He did push me,
No, he
and
didn't. I was sitting right there.
I'm having problems with my ankle.
I think it's a big joke. I think she needs some professional help.
If he can provide a birth certificate saying that that's his biological daughter, or has
Your
given up
daughter
his
should be
daughtership,
proof enough.
let him go get a blood test.
All parties on Jacob versus Styles. Step forward, please.
Celia Jacob was a friend and co-worker with Hope Styles until Celia refused to lend her car. Now they're fighting over rent.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is number 48 on the calendar in the matter of Jacob versus Style. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
All right, this is a case of roommates, rented an apartment. You claim that the defendant moved out, sticking you with the lease. Right?
Right.
Okay. You knew each other from before. Why don't you start and tell me the story from the beginning?
We've known about over a year, and we became friends as soon as we met. We did things after work, and
you worked together.
We worked together for a while, well, for a long time, and afterwards, she had problems with her boyfriend. She was living with him at the time, and she had to move back to Indiana. We remained talking over the phone, and she asked me if she moved back to California, if she could move in with me. At the time, I was living in a one-bedroom apartment, and I said it was okay, even though it was small for us, we could manage to live there. She said that after she got back on track, we could look for something bigger, which we did after a month and a half.
So she came back from Indiana to California.
To live with me in the one-bedroom apartment.
And then you looked for a larger one.
For a larger one.
And you found one?
We found one. And we signed a 1-year lease. We agreed to live there for a year. And it was $700 for rent, and then $700 a deposit, which we agreed with the owner to pay $100 a month for 7 months.
So you moved out of your one-bedroom apartment because you were moving in to live together.
Right.
Otherwise, you would have stayed in your apartment. Right. Okay, how long did you live there with the defendant?
In the two-bedroom apartment? 3 months.
What happened?
Due to an argument, I guess, at work, the last argument we had was over me not lending her my car, which I've been having problems with it, and she knew about it, and she asked me in front of several people to borrow it, and it was a bad moment when she did that, and I said no.
And then when did she move out?
On the 1st of November, I'm at work. She never said anything to me. She didn't even give me a time to find somebody to live with, even though I never wanted to share an apartment with somebody else. If I moved, it was because we were friends. And
so you said she didn't give you any notice. You were at work, and what happened on November 1st?
She just moved out. She didn't tell me anything.
Is that right?
Yeah, I did just move out. I left her a note, though.
Well, why didn't you give her any notice that you were moving out?
Everything was fine for like a month and a half. And then at work, she asked me to work for her one day, and I said I didn't want to do it. She got upset.
You mean take her shift?
Yes, take her shift for her, cover her shift.
What kind of work were you doing at that time?
We were both sales associates at Crown Books. She asked me to take her shift, and I said no, I couldn't. I didn't want to. And then the rest of for 2 weeks, she wouldn't talk to me. She was very rude to me. Whenever I would come home, she would just go in her room and ignore me. And then I tried to talk to her. I'm like, Celia, what's wrong? And she told me that I was less of a friend to her because I didn't work for her for that one day. And I'm like, I can't believe, you think that I'm no good of a friend just because I can't work for you for one day. I had other plans.
Ms. Stiles, you owe her some notice.
I didn't feel, after she had treated me like that, she wasn't even talking to me.
She was in a one-bedroom apartment, perfectly comfortable, perfectly happy in her one-bedroom apartment. She obligated herself to pay more rent because you were going to be living with her, and you left, sticking her with the balance of the lease, which is 9 months. That's unreasonable, madam.
But that's not true, because she was paying
money too.
Just a second.
She was paying less money when we moved into the. She was paying like $475 at her one bedroom, and it's a very bad neighborhood. We moved up into a good neighborhood, and she was paying less rent. She wasn't paying more rent. And she told me...
Just a second. Was she paying less rent even when you moved out?
No, she was paying...
Well, that's what I mean. Of course she was paying less rent when you were living there. You were dividing it in half. But when you moved out, she was paying more. Now, let me ask you another question. When you moved out without giving her any notice, where did you move to?
I moved in with my boyfriend.
Is that the same boyfriend that you left before?
Yeah, we broke up.
You broke up, but then you went right back to him.
No, I didn't go right back.
You went right back to him from after you moved out of the apartment that you were sharing.
No, I had moved to Indiana, and then...
No, I know. Then you came back from Indiana because you had a fight with your boyfriend.
No, it wasn't
You left California, you went to Indiana, then you came back. Now, when you came back, you were living with her.
Yes.
After you moved out of the apartment, you said you moved back with your boyfriend. Is that the same boyfriend that you had before?
Yes, it's the same one.
Ms. Stiles, you have to be a responsible young lady. When you lease an apartment, especially when you lease an apartment with someone who was a friend, you don't just move out without giving them adequate notice so that they can, what we call in the legal trade, mitigate whatever damages there are, which means perhaps if you gave her 60 days notice or said, look, this isn't working out, I'm going to pay you for the next 2 months so that you can either find another roommate or give your landlord notice and look for another apartment, which would have been inconvenient enough, but at least you would have done the right thing.
Judge Judy will be right back. Celia Jacob was a friend and co-worker with Hope Stiles until Celia refused to lend her car. Now they're fighting over rent.
The remainder of the rent, according to your papers, as well as the utility bills that were left, you didn't pay.
Yes, I did pay. I left her a note and I left her cash.
How much cash did you leave her?
I left her money for the gas bill. It was half of the gas bill. It was $8. And then we had a cable bill and a phone bill, which were both $50 a piece. I took the cable bill and I left her the phone bill and I said, we'll call it even. I said, when the electric bill comes in, call me. She never called me. All she was
Go ahead.
I called her twice, ma'am. That's why I'm here. I called her twice and she said she had no money for me.
All right. Listen to me. Are you still living in this 2-bedroom apartment?
Yes, ma'am, and I haven't found a roommate. I have 2 ads that I brought.
I'd like to see the 2 ads.
And I've been paying for those. I haven't met the right person to, of course, I'm afraid now to live with anybody. I don't have the money to move to another apartment. I can't do that because the owner of the building has been very understanding, and he's not like he didn't charge me for late charges. I paid on November. I paid the rent on the 16th. I had to borrow money from my other boss to pay the $700.
And can I see the electric bill, please?
Yes, ma'am.
I know how much you had left.
She wants to see them.
And I know how much left you had to pay on the security deposit. You still with the boyfriend?
Yes, I am.
You owe the plaintiff $1,932. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in that amount. Next time, you better act responsibly. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Lazar versus Adams. Step forward, please.
Elaine Lazar got a red hairpiece from Cherie Adams. She couldn't do a thing with it, except sue for 300 green ones.
Judges number 10 on the calendar in the matter of Lazar versus Adams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Lazar, the defendant made you a hairpiece according to your complaint. You paid her $300 and you don't like the hairpiece. You want your money back.
That's correct, Judge.
What's wrong with the hairpiece?
She had permed it so that the curl was so tight that it was somewhat like an afro. She said to me, I misjudged the hairpiece. I misjudged the texture of your hair. I am now going to, she said, don't worry about a thing, because what I am going to do for you is pull it out, and it will be okay. I'm going to relax it.
What did you say to her?
I told her when she came to order the hairpiece, she has natural curly hair. I told her that I would have to put a perm into it, and when she first came to me, her hair was real tight. I tried to make the curl according to her hair. The next time she came to me, because she asked for a different color to begin with, I looked at her hair and it was all fluffed out, real loose. And I said, your hair looked much tighter before. She said that this is the way it is with mousse, etc. So then I said, well, I'm going to have to relax it a little bit. It'll be fine. And I did relax it. All you have to do is run some solution through it for about 10 seconds. That's all I did. Then she came to pick up the piece. I cut it in. She was ecstatic.
Well, she must have been because she paid you and she left with it.
And she even tipped me.
Is that right?
That's absolutely right.
So
it
she
was
put it
pliable
in.
at that point,
So she
Judge.
put it in. You liked it. You tipped her. You paid her for it. And then what happened?
The next day she called me and said she needed to cut just a little bit more. And so when she came over, I was more than happy to help her. I trimmed it just a little bit more, and again, she was very happy with it.
So far correct?
I was not ecstatic. I was willing to pay for it because I had ordered this, Judge.
Well, but you came in because you said you wanted it trimmed.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Then she went on her trip. When she came back, she wanted her hair colored again. And she came to my house, and she decided that she wanted to use permanent color because the other color wasn't holding her gray as well.
Is that so far correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then I told her to come to my work, and on my lunch hour, I would color her hair. I asked her if she wore the piece in Europe, and she said no, because she couldn't, I had given her a curling iron to take with her. Natural curly hair is different than permed hair. Natural curly hair springs back by itself. Permed hair, you either scrunch it or you put a little curl in it. So she said that she couldn't get a converter thing over there, so she didn't wear it. She never once mentioned anything wrong, never. Then she came in the next day. I colored her hair up in the salon. I put
So
the
far,
piece
is that
on
correct?
her.
Did you come in and have her color your hair?
I had my hair colored, and when she put the piece on, it never looked right on my hair.
Listen to me, madam. I'm not following these things. There are certain things that are common sense. If you have something made that you're dissatisfied with, you don't go back to the same place that made something that you were dissatisfied with, and this time not only let them take care of a hairpiece that's, you know, you can take and you can toss away, you let her work on your natural hair. I mean, so you're going back to the place that you were dissatisfied with and saying, well, now I want you to work on my real hair. That doesn't sound right to me.
Excuse me, Judge, she had worked on my real hair when she was doing the hairpiece. She had colored my real hair.
Yes, but now you tell me you were dissatisfied with the job that she did.
Absolutely, but
And
I
why
came
would you go back to her
find
again?
out why I could not fix this, and if she was able to, I was giving her the benefit of the doubt.
No, that's not why you came back to her. You came back to her, according to you and according to her, to have your hair colored. To have your real hair colored by the same person that you said did a lousy job in making the wig.
I came back to have my hair colored and to have her fix the hairpiece on my head. And it looked awful. It was just flat and full and looked awful.
Judge Judy will be right back. Lazar got a red hairpiece from Cherie Adams. She couldn't do a thing with it except sue for 300 green ones.
Let me just put it in order. You had your hair colored. You had this piece colored to match. You picked it up. You were satisfied with it. You went home. The next day you called her and said, would you trim it a little bit because there were a couple of wispy hairs hanging out, which suggests to me that you were satisfied with it when you got it home. Then you went on vacation with it. You said you couldn't use it on vacation. What happened between the time you left her shop and the time you got on vacation? You went on vacation.
When I was at her house, it was not a shop, it was at her house. Okay? And when I was at her house, I said, I can't work with this. I am not able to work with it. And she gave me a curling iron to use and said to me, you just use this here and you spray this here and it will work for you. It did not work for me, okay?
Did you use the curling iron when you were on vacation?
I attempted to use the curling iron before I even left for vacation to try and fix a couple of the hairs that just stood out. They didn't do anything. It was over-processed, over-permed, and over-colored. And it was not working. I would have liked it to have worked. I bought it for my vacation so it would work. I am not a complaining type of a person.
So why did you take it on vacation with you if it didn't work?
I was hoping it was working, that it would work on vacation. That's why I took it with. That was the sole purpose of having it. I wore it on the plane.
Miss Lazar, you just told me that you couldn't work with it at home before you went on vacation.
There were a couple places that I couldn't, so I attempted to use the curling iron with it. When I was on vacation, they didn't have the plug-in, the AC, whatever it's called in Europe, my plug was not working properly. So I didn't use that, and the hairpiece, I couldn't even do anything to fluff it out. It was flat.
So just a second. Were you satisfied or dissatisfied with it when you tried to use the curling iron at home?
Was I satisfied with it? I let it go as is because I was rushing to get ready.
All right.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Yes.
I have a witness here who was at my home and heard her. She never gave me a complaint until after when she called me up and said she was going to sue me.
Well, you tell me.
When she came to the shop and had it done.
Shop, after she came back from vacation, she came to your shop and she had you permanently color her hair.
Yeah, and I put the piece
Prior
in
to
her
that,
hair.
what kind of coloring did you use on your hair?
Semi-permanent
I used coloring on my hair.
Was it the same kind of coloring?
Permanent
or semi-permanent?
It was permanent. I always had permanent coloring on my hair because I have gray in my hair and I had permanent coloring in my hair. The whole point of this, though, Judge, is the fact that this woman had told me that she was giving me my money back.
Did you ever say that to her?
In the very beginning, let me finish. When she came in, I colored her hair. I put the piece on her. Then she left and went downstairs. It's a beauty supply that I manage. And I gave her formula for her color. She said she couldn't afford to do her hair at a hairdresser all the time. So she bought the color. Never, ever said anything about anything being wrong. Then 2 days later, she calls me up and she says that she is going to sue me. We have a problem and I want a new piece or I'm suing you. And I was at work. I told her I couldn't talk at work. She kept going on, so I hung up on her. Then she turned around and called back, and I told one of the employees, don't answer the phone. She let it ring for I don't know how many times, 20 times. Finally, he picked it up, and she told him, you better tell her to call me or I'm suing her. So I still didn't call her. So then she called me at home. So finally I said to her, I said, fine. I said, there's nothing wrong with this hairpiece, but I don't want to have to go to court, and I will make you another piece. She brings this piece back. That's how I got it. And with a note, she says in the note that unless everything exactly the way that I want it and that I okay, the color, the this, the that, the that, I will not accept it either. So she called again at work. No, I don't have the note. Finally, she called again at work and she said that when is my piece going to be ready? And I said, it's not. I said, there's no way that I can ever please you. And then I hung up. She said, well, I'm going to sue you. And I said, I'll try and give you the money back. I didn't have the money. So then she kept calling me on the money.
Do you think that if you offered to give her the money back, do you think that you did anything wrong with that hairpiece?
I didn't do anything wrong. I gave her exactly what she wanted, and she was pleased.
Miss Lazar, did you go down to the beauty supply place and buy hair coloring down there? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
You did not?
After she colored my hair, I had paid her for coloring my hair, so that extra coloring she gave to me, that was left over. It was not buying hair coloring. There was coloring that was in the tube. You know, you'd have enough for 2 days, 2 visits time. I did not buy hair coloring.
Your Honor, she went downstairs and bought color that day.
She did not give you a money-back guarantee when she made you this hairpiece.
She told me if I was not happy with the hairpiece, she would redo it. And when I called her and told her, you have over-permed my hair, you have then relaxed it, you have done all of these things to it, it's not pliable, I can't use it, I'd like you to remake it. I wrote a note that was very descriptive, stating I would like it to be this texture of my hair. I went and cut a piece of my hair off, and I scotch taped it on the page that I wrote.
Can you ever match somebody's natural hair exactly?
No. When I told her in the very beginning, I'm sorry, Your Honor, when I told her in the very beginning, because her hair is natural curly, you cannot buy natural curly hair. We have to perm it, and all hair is colored to a degree. The different colors in her hair would have to be blended with several different colors to get that color. And like I told you, she was happy.
Did you ever go to the hairdresser and have your hair cut too short?
Yes.
You pay the hairdresser? You pay the hairdresser if you have your hair cut too short? Of course you do.
I would, yes.
Of course you do. Listen to me. You ever buy a dress, and when you wore it when you got it in the store, it looked really nice on you. You got home, you put it on, and it didn't seem to fit right, but you wore it once. You wore it, and you tried on, so you couldn't bring it back, right? You don't have a money-back guarantee with certain things. Certain products give you a money-back guarantee. This product, based upon what I'm hearing, there was not negligence on her part. She makes perfect sense to me that wigs do not come naturally curly. You have to do something in order to make them curly. They come straight, so you have to
put a little bit of curl in them. You don't curl them so tight that I had wiglets on my hair.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Lazar, quite frankly, what the defendant says also makes sense. When your hair is curly, naturally curly like yours, sometimes if the weather is frizzy outside or wet outside, it gets frizzy. Sometimes you blow out your hair and you put mousse in it, it makes it straight. So not every time that you walk outside, your hair is going to be exactly the same. There is nothing that suggests to me that she did, and I looked at that hairpiece, and based upon even what you tell me, you took that hairpiece home, not one day, but twice. You tried to fix it before you went on vacation. You actually used the curling iron on it. You not only used the curling iron on it, but you took the curling iron with you to Europe, which suggests to me
I was told to do that.
Listen to me. You were told to do that.
Yes.
Miss Lazar, nobody tells you to do anything. You used it at home. And because you used it at home, and it clearly worked reasonably well at home. You took the curling iron, because nobody goes to Europe and takes an additional appliance when they go to Europe. You took it to Europe, but you didn't have an adapter, so you couldn't use it. Then you came back, your hair color changed when you were there, you went to her, she colored your hair again, and now the thing does not fit right in your hair. That doesn't mean she's responsible to pay you for it. Bird, see that hairpiece?
Yes, Judge.
Would you take it from that table, please?
This is mine.
And put it on the other table, Bird. This case is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Judge Judy returns in a moment.
I know I was defrauded, and I'm very annoyed. She's worked on rock stars, not on professional individuals. And I feel like I have been really taken over. I'm very unhappy.
I don't think anything that you could do for her would ever please her. She's so unhappy with herself that she doesn't like anything. I did the best I could. She paid me. She liked it. I had a witness that she told that she loved it. It looked natural.
Ambassador limousine crashed before the pickup. Now they're suing for being stood up.
Order. All rise. Now it's number 68 on the calendar in the matter of Nolan versus Ambassador Limo Service. Sorry, Judge. All
right.
parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
There are a lot of people here, so we're going to keep it simple. Basically, a group of young teenage ladies were going to a Sadie Hawkins dance, right?
Yes.
And you had dates?
Yes.
So there were 4 couples, 8 people.
Yes.
And the moms got together and decided it would be nice to have a limo pick up all the kids, take them to dinner, and then take them to the dance. You hired these folks.
Correct.
Who's the president?
I am.
And who are you?
I was the driver.
Who are you?
I'm the dispatcher in the office.
And you say the service was terrible? It was a disaster evening? You paid money? You want your money back?
Yes.
Right? How much did you pay?
As we totaled it up, $360.
In total for the limousine?
No, including the deposit and the tip and
everything
et
for
cetera,
the evening was
$360.
$360. Okay. Now, the moms weren't there, correct?
No.
Who's the best talker?
All of us.
No,
I'll
they
start.
weren't there.
Do you want me
Well,
to start?
I want to hear from the girls.
Okay.
Who's the best talker?
I'll start.
You'll start?
Yeah.
Tell me your name.
Kristen.
Okay.
And first of all, I had sent out like invitations to all the parents to have them come over to our house to have a nice evening. We had hors d'oeuvres. We had spent tons of time in preparing for this: hair, nails, makeup. We got dresses. It took like a month, just to prepare this. And this was supposed to be our night. And this was supposed to be, it's our first formal dance. And
Kristen, look at me. Don't look down. Look at me.
And then around 6 o'clock, the limo was supposed to come to our house, and it
Now,
was.
Were all the kids at your house waiting for them?
And the parents.
And the limo was supposed to take you where, Kristen?
To dinner in Coronado, and it was around 6:10. And
So the limousine was due at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
And how big was this limousine supposed to be?
It's supposed to be a 10-person limo.
Correct?
Correct.
So 6 o'clock, you're all there, all dolled up. Your hair, your nails, the dresses, the parents, everybody. Let me see. It's like prom pictures. So I assume you want to show me what you all look like. 6 o'clock, no limo.
And so it turned 6:20, and my dad called the limo, and they said that the limo had gotten in an accident. And so they said that they would have a limo waiting for us in Coronado. So our parents had to take us to Coronado.
Okay, so the limo never came to pick you up. And they said the limo was in an accident.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct.
How many kids was this a school event?
Yeah.
So all the kids in school were going to this same party?
Yeah.
How many kids?
Approximately, probably
Like
300
something. Yeah.
How many?
Like 1,000.
And how many limo companies are there that you can choose from in your area?
There's a lot.
There's a lot. Your name is it?
David
David what?
Garcia.
Mr. Garcia. How many kids did you contract for that night?
Probably about 5 cars went to that dance.
And how many cars does your limousine company have altogether?
25.
Of course, you have proof of everything every answer that you're giving me.
Correct.
How many 10-person limousines does your company have?
6, I believe.
What do you...
Trying to count
Mr.
real
Garcia.
quick. 6 cars. 6 10 passengers.
Okay, that's cutting it pretty close, isn't it? Because all these other 5 people that you serviced that night needed, I'm sure, the same large limousines. Is that right?
No, they're all different sizes.
Well,
Not
I know
every-
that they're
not-
all different sizes. What I'm saying to you is if kids are all getting together to go to a function, in all probability they were going in a large group because it saves money. So you would need all of your 6 10-passenger limousines to service this one party. Is that correct?
No.
Well, look on your record, sir. How many, while I'm taking the rest of this information, look in your records and tell me how many 10-passenger limousines service this party?
Service their dance?
Yes, service their dance that night. Do you have the whole roster for that night?
Yes, we do.
You have the roster?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see it? Okay, so the limousine didn't show up to take you where it was supposed to.
Right.
What was the original contract price?
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Because I made the original agreement with
Okay.
my daughter, Christina, over the phone with the limo company. The original contract was for 6 p.m. to midnight, 6 hours, and it was a 6-hour minimum at a $50 rate, which was supposed to be a special rate, plus tip.
So it was $300.
Right, plus tip, which they said would be approximately a $50 tip, plus tax, which I guess would be about $24.
Okay.
Can I say something? When we took the reservation, and we have a copy of it, the reservation, the kids wanted the limousine actually for 7 hours, and they had it for a 7-hour minimum. We send out copies of our contracts along with a confirmation letter, a credit card authorization, and it basically what it states is this is what we're contracting, this is the time and the location where we need to pick you up. And Sherry Nolan sent back the credit card authorization.
Let me see the contract.
Okay.
May I say something?
No, I want to see the contract.
I never received a contract. I received a credit card authorization, and that's all.
Well, I'm going to see here because let's see. Did you ever sign this? I don't see any signature on this.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So now you're at the restaurant eating, and your parents have taken you to the restaurant in cars rather than the 10-passenger limousine that you were supposed to have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then we got to the restaurant, and they said they were going to call the restaurant and say that our dinner reservations were going to be put to later, but they didn't.
No, slowly.
Okay, sorry.
Teenagers talk very fast.
And
you mean the limousine service, said that they would call the restaurant for you.
Yeah.
So the the table wouldn't be given away because we were late now for dinner.
Yeah.
Who did you
They were
speak
late.
to? Who spoke to the limousine company?
Kristen's
my
dad called the limousine company.
Okay, so you don't know what did somebody call and ask you to extend the reservation?
Correct.
Yes.
They spoke with Monica.
And
Yes.
did you call the
Yes,
restaurant?
I did call the restaurant, and I spoke with the lady. I explained to them the situation, that our limousine was in an accident. The gentleman I spoke to on the phone, I don't know whom he was. He would not give me his name.
Mm-hmm.
What I did at that time is I discounted the vehicle. I did understand that we were late for the pickup because of the accident that the driver was in prior. And we found out not even till after 6 o'clock that the car had been in an accident. So there was no way we could foresee even calling the
You
kids.
do, of course, have proof to show me that this limousine was in an accident
Yes,
that
we
night.
have a picture.
Let me see it. Let's get to the restaurant. What time were you finished with dinner?
I think like 8.
Was there a limousine waiting
We
for you?
finished at 8 or so.
finished at-
And
And your name?
my name's Christina.
Christina?
Yeah. We finished at about...
This isn't proof that the limousine was in an accident. Give me the proof from your insurance company and everything else, sir, that the limousine was in an accident.
I don't have anything from my insurance company because it's not being covered by the insurance company.
You have a police report that the limousine was in an accident? I mean, that's just a picture of a lot of metal.
But I don't
That
have
doesn't tell me anything.
Don't have a police report on it.
You don't have any proof to show me that there was an accident that night. Of course not. Now,
We finished at about 8 o'clock because that's when the limo was supposed to come get us. But then I guess we received a call from one of our friends' moms saying that it wasn't going to be there till 8:30. So then at 8:30 we wait outside the chart house, and the limo, we're out there in the cold and we're freezing, and it doesn't even come till 9:15. So we were waiting outside for approximately 45 minutes. And when the limo does pull up...
why didn't the limousine arrive, sir, until 9:15?
I was the second driver. I wasn't the first driver. They had two different drivers that night. A different driver picked them up from the restaurant and took them to the dance. I picked them up after the dance.
Just a second. It's all coming clear to me. A driver picked you up at 9:15.
It was supposed to be at 8.
And you got to the dance at what time?
We got to the dance at about 9:45.
So that's 1/2 hour. Right?
Yes.
However, just a second. That's half hour. What time did you get to the dance to pick them up?
At 9 o'clock.
What time did you get to the dance to pick them up from the dance to take them home?
At 9 o'clock. I got there at 9 o'clock and waited until they came out.
Baloney. I don't believe that.
Another driver brought them from the restaurant to the school.
Why in the world, sir, would you, knowing that the car didn't even pick them up at the restaurant, go and sit outside a school where they were just going to be dancing for 3 hours? Why would you do that?
Because I was coming from L.A. and I was dispatched to go to the school and wait for them to come out. The school was closer to where I was coming from.
But nobody
than
was at the
restaurant.
school. They weren't even at the school at 9 o'clock. They didn't get to the school until 10 o'clock. What were you doing there at 9 o'clock? Who were you chaperoning? Who were you driving? Do you understand what I'm saying, Mr. Garcia?
Right, but he was already there waiting for their car to arrive.
That's your problem.
Correct.
Just a second. That's your problem. They don't pay for that. Why should they pay for that? He's sitting at the school waiting, and your driver hasn't even picked them up to bring them to the school. So why should they pay for any part of that? So far, all I have here is a half hour.
Okay. Now, their time started once their car arrived at the dance, is when we started our clock. When their car arrived.
When whose car arrived at the dance?
Their car.
That would be about 9:45.
Correct.
9:45. And what time did you leave the dance?
We left the dance at about 11 o'clock. 11.
You left the dance at 11?
Yeah.
And what time did you all get home?
The limo dropped us off at 2:25.
2:25 in the morning?
Yeah.
Where'd you all go until 2:25 in the morning?
Well, it's first when we were going out of the parking lot after they had picked us up from the dance, the limo apparently got egged by some guys who weren't participant. And
is that right?
Correct.
So what'd you do?
One of the girls offered their house and we went and hosed it off.
No, that's not
First,
true.
he got out very angry and went and chased the kids. He went and chased the kids for about,
He was out there for like 45
minutes.
Did you do that?
10 minutes.
And he had
Just a
his-
second.
Yes,
Did you go out
for
and
10
chase?
minutes.
No,
It was not 10 minutes.
We were waiting in there for a very long time, and we were just...
What size limousine, by the way, was
This
this?
was an 8-person, and we were supposed to have a 10. And the part that disappointed us the most was that the first limo that came to pick us up from the chart house, that was only a 4-person limo, and when it drived up, we were just so astonished because it was nothing we expected. It looked like a car, and
So how did you all manage to get in
we
there?
had to sit on each other's laps.
It's not a 4-person limo. I have pictures of the car here.
Let me see. Let me see
This
it.
is the limo that picked them up at the restaurant.
Show
There's
the
a picture
girls,
of the limo
please.
that came
Show
from
the girls, please.
the restaurant.
Is that the
It
limousine?
had 4 seats.
Is that the
2
car?
on each side. Yeah,
Can I see it?
each time.
This one?
Yeah. But it only had 2 vents on each side. And in both of the limos, the radio didn't work, and the sunroof and the TV, and that was a disappointment because that's what you look forward to in a limo, is to have all the luxuries. And we did not have those in either of the 2 limos, which disappointed us.
Well, I don't know how the car looks, but they've had to sit in each other's laps in order to transport all the way from Coronado back to the school.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So, you're out chasing the guys with eggs who egged your car. And they're sitting in the limousine.
We were sitting in there for about 45 minutes. We heard that he was calling the police to like file a report.
Did you call the police?
Correct.
And
then what happened?
And after that, he demanded to go to one of our houses so that he could hose off the limo.
That's incorrect. I asked him if there was a car wash so I could wash the egg off. And one of the girls said she lived around the corner from the school. And we went there.
Well, why was it so important to go and hose off the limo?
Because the egg will eat the paint.
Well, why do they have to pay for that? They didn't do it.
I didn't ask them to pay for it.
Well,
I asked
you do.
for a car wash.
You're asking, just a second. You ask them to pay for it if they're paying for the time. You're asking them to pay for you going cleaning off your car, on their time. So I assume you don't expect to be paid for that. Right, Mr. Garcia?
Correct.
I assume you don't ask to be paid for when he was chasing around the guys who egged the car,
No.
or the time he called the police, or the time he went and hosed down the car. They got picked up at 11
I was told it was
o'clock.
about 15 minutes in total the whole time.
Ah, no way. All right, where'd you go after 11 o'clock? You went, he 40 minutes, whatever, he went and chased people. He tried to call the police, then he went and hosed off the car. And then where did you go from hosing off the car?
That was at about 12:20 approximately. When we left the person's house from hosing off the car.
Okay.
And then after that, we just went down to the beach where some of our friends were. And then we went, just drove around, and then we went to Denny's to get dessert.
Okay. And what time did you get home?
2:25.
When my daughter came home that evening, she was like, Mom, you can't believe what happened. We didn't even get the limo till, after 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to sit on each other's laps. And she said, and then the whole time we rode around, the radio didn't work. They wouldn't raise the privacy window because they said we were minors. And there was a man and a woman up front, and they were just talking and having a good time. And I felt like we were riding around with our parents all night, and we wasted our money. And I wanted to also say that you said the parents thought they'd do the limo for the girls. This was the girls' idea, and they raised their own money. It was babysitting cash.
That's
and it was
really
their
nice.
idea to do the limo, so they were really the ones that were disappointed.
Now, Mr. Garcia, let's you and I have a chat, sir.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons you have to be a little older before they make you a judge, because you have a certain life's experience. Your whole defense to this case, Mr. Garcia, is that it was an unfortunate circumstance that caused this problem because your limousine that you had originally booked for these people was in an accident. That is your entire defense, correct? And yet, sir, you come here to court as a businessman with not an iota of proof, not a scintilla of proof, not a document, not a police report, not an insurance claim, not a mechanic's report, nothing that would support your statement that the limo was in an accident. Do you know how many times, Mr. Garcia, I have called car service and the car service didn't come on time? I'm waiting 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 15 minutes, and all of a sudden I call up and I say, where's my car? And they say to me, stuck in traffic. There's a major traffic jam. The car was in an accident. We're going to send another car for you right away. You know what that means, Mr. Garcia? That means that they overbooked for that particular time, and that they figured they could shuffle around a little bit and make it work. Call somebody from, Ventura and say, listen, pick these kids up. And because they're kids in this case, you thought it would be okay.
We offer them a discounted rate.
You're going to offer it to them for nothing because that's what the service they got was worth. Absolutely nothing. They planned an event. They got all excited about it. They raised their own money to make it a wonderful, memorable evening. And I'm sure that your company didn't absolutely ruin it for them. But one of the highlights of an evening like that for young people like this is to have an elegant limousine complete with radio and television and all the things that go into a limousine, usually in working order. Afford an evening, a certain festiveness. You spoiled it because you overbooked, and then you gave him some baloney that the car was in an accident. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $360, full amount that they paid. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I feel that they have no right being anything of business. They completely ruined our night. It was the biggest disappointment.
And now, the next case.
Parties on Fanton versus Ray. Step forward, please.
Pamela Fanton admits she got drunk at a wine tasting with tennis pro Jeff Ray. He got busted for DUI, and she bailed him out. Now she wants the money.
Ah, well, you went to a crush party.
Yes, we did.
I'm old. Tell me what a crush party is.
Crush party is basically the celebration of the harvest of the grapes. We were up in Temecula, California. I'm a wine fan, champagne fan, and we were at Thornton Cellars. And they
So you were drinking wine. That's the
and
intention
champagne,
of
yes.
Wine and champagne. That's a crush party.
Well, the celebration is the party, and what you do there obviously is secondary.
And the two of you went down together. You drove down in your car. According to your complaint, you both had too much to drink. After this party, car got pulled over. You spent the night in jail.
Yes, ma'am.
She bailed you out.
Yes, ma'am.
She wants the money for the bail. How much was that?
$175.
And then, since you were in no condition to drive because you were also blotto, they towed your car.
Exactly.
So you want him to pay for that too?
I do. The original agreement.
Okay. And how much was that?
$135.
Now, there's where we may have a sticking point to you and I. So let's start from the beginning. You wanted to tell me what the original plan was.
We had, because we were going to the crush party and I knew that we would be drinking, that's as much the point as going. I had agreed, and we had both agreed that we were going to stay up there. I had agreed to pay for the hotel, knowing that he probably didn't have the funds to do so. So I agreed to pay for the hotel. It was our agreement to stay up there. I had an overnight bag, and I had things I would need for the next morning. He had a tennis lesson in the morning, and I said, fine, I'll be fine in the morning. I'll drive you home. Absolutely no problem. So I was not as careful in watching the amount of alcohol I consumed as I would normally be if there was any chance that we were driving home, but it was our agreement. And to amplify that, we had stopped at a grocery store to get some bread and cheese and some champagne to have in the room for that evening before we went home the next morning. Well, as we were driving to what I thought was the hotel, which it's a very small town and there are little dotted hotels within, several hundred yards, Jeff got on the freeway and I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, we're going to drive it home." I said, "Jeff, please don't do this. We've both been drinking. I don't feel good about this." "I'm fine. We'll make it home." Well, obviously that wasn't the case. We had, apparently from when we were pulled over, the highway patrol said they had been following us for a while. Jeff was driving too fast, and his words were, "Well, this would never have happened in my car. It doesn't go that fast."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we were pulled over. He was found under the influence, and they asked me if I was okay to drive home, and I told them I don't think so. So they gave the breathalyzer to me. I don't know what the reading was, but they told me, "You're not driving anywhere." So they dropped me off at a center so I could call my sister, and they subsequently towed my car, and my sister took me home.
So I got a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
The last place that you went to taste wine and champagne was where?
It was all held at the Thornton Cellars. It was only one area.
And how far away from Thornton Cellars was the motel that you were supposed to stay at?
We were going to choose one. We hadn't chosen one in advance, but I'm familiar with the area. They are within a mile, less than a mile. We went to the grocery store.
And you drove to the grocery store?
Jeff drove to the grocery store.
Well, you were both in the car. So you drove the car, whether you drove it for a half a block, whether you drove it for 10 yards. You acquiesced to that because even if you thought you were going to the motel, you were still going to get to the motel.
Exactly.
Using your car.
Yes.
No good. Right?
Absolutely. We were wrong in that.
So that you bear partial responsibility, even if you had followed your plan because you were still driving in the car with him, knowing that you both were going to be drinking. Right?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I don't think he's telling you the complete story. He has friends in the Treasury Department. I took him to the hearing for his DUI. The lady who assists before the actual hearing.
Pamela Fanton admits she got drunk at a wine tasting with tennis pro Jeff Ray. He got busted for DUI and she bailed him out. Now she wants the money.
So, let's hear your side of the story. Why aren't you responsible for your own bail?
I could have. I could have taken care of the bail. I had an out-of-state license, so that was the only reason why they required bail. And the 180 I was planning to pay back without any problem and was going to do so until she decided that she was going to take me to court and sue for the balance, which was the 135, the towing, right? So I felt I did not owe that. As a matter of fact, the judge, when I went before them for the hearing on the DUI, they dismissed that because the blood alcohol level was 0.07, so that is still within the legal limits here in California, and it was reduced to a minor traffic violation. I was actually in jail for 9 hours, and so they gave me 2 days time on that, and I had to pay a $150 fine, which I paid, and it was over with. So,
Your Honor, I don't think he's telling you the complete story. He has friends in the Treasury Department. When we were there, I took him to the hearing for his DUI. The lady who, I guess it's a court-appointed attorney, who assists before the actual hearing, said, well, you must know people in high places. There's a letter here, and they have dropped the charges or reduced the charges to failures to stay within the lanes. And I looked at him and I thought, I do not believe this. I have a real big problem. Obviously, I was at fault too, partially, when we got in that car initially. However, my intention was not to get onto the freeway and endanger my life, his life, the lives of everybody else on that freeway. And when I found that our government, by virtue of a letter, dismissed that charge, I was just outraged. And that's why this is so important to me.
I have no idea what she's talking about.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
I mean, if there were a letter, then that is part of public record and can be
Not necessarily, sir, not if it's that kind of letter. You mean she's just making this up out of whole cloth, this conversation
I didn't
that
see
she
any
heard?
letter.
No,
All I
did you
was...
hear the statement that she heard?
He was with me,
Did
Your
you
Honor.
hear the statement that she heard from the
Yes,
attorney?
but I didn't. I have no idea what it was. I mean, it was obvious that...
You must have a good fairy someplace watching over you. Right? Right. Look, Mr. Ray, you shouldn't have been behind the wheel of the car. Miss Fanton, he shouldn't have been behind the wheel of the car, neither should you have been behind the wheel of the car. So she bailed you out. Did you ask her to bail you out?
Yes, I did.
All right. And you said it was $175?
Yes, it was.
Okay. That's what you have to pay, sir. $175. That's what you owe her. As far as the towing of your car is concerned, you're not blameless. He got stopped in the car. He had to pay the fine. He probably gets points on his license, and he's got to pay the bail. So, since you were both really at fault, you have to assume some of the financial burden. Got it? And the towing part is your financial burden. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $175. Don't drink and drive.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Period. That's all. Thank you.
Please excuse me. Step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I think Jeff is a user. I think that he takes advantage of people at his own gain. He's quite charming. This is not the only part of our relationship that this has happened, but this is by far the most serious part of it. And I think that he endangered my life, he endangered his life, he endangered the lives of everybody on the freeway.
I think that she's basically just taking it out on me for a lot of past relationships that didn't work.
Martin's son, Adam, gave his car keys to Brian Peden Sr.'s son, Brian Jr. Instead of just listening to the radio, he took a friend for a joyride that ended in tragedy.
Order. All rise. Judges, number 54 in the matter of Peterson Martin versus Pearden. You seated.
Tragic case. Read the papers. Let me see if I can summarize it. Miss Martin, you bought your son a car. And he lent the keys to the car to his friend over here while they were at school. He says he lent the keys to his friend just to sit in the car, listen to music. This young man over here took the car to do some tricks with it someplace with a friend. There was a tragic accident, and the friend was killed. So far, is that correct?
Pretty much.
And now you're suing Mr. Peden for the damage that was done to the car. Correct?
Correct.
You two people have your sons. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of this case yet. I certainly hope that I don't have to, after reading your complaint. This is one of those terrible tragedies that you see in newspapers, terrible, gruesome pictures that you see with teenage kids driving all the time when they act irresponsibly. But you two people are standing here with the luxury of having your boys standing next to you. Dead boys' parents don't have that luxury. And quite frankly, I can't believe that you can't find some way to resolve this case financially with the understanding that you two people are probably the luckiest two people in this room today because you have your sons. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes. With that in mind, I want you two people to go outside. Because based upon what I see here, neither one of your two sons was blameless in this incident. Now, I may be wrong, because I haven't heard the evidence yet. But neither of them were blameless. According to your papers, sir, you just lent them the keys to sit in the car. That was a mistake. Because once you let somebody have the keys to a car, whether it be another teenager or whether it be a 6-year-old, a tragedy can always happen. So that was irresponsible. And by doing what you did, I don't think that anybody has to tell you that that was not only irresponsible, but tragic. So your son, too, acted irresponsibly. Go outside. I'm going to recall this case in a few minutes. Talk to each other.
Parties are excused. Step out. This case will be recalled.
You're supposed to work it out.
Well, I would like to work it out.
Let's see what happens.
Brian, I don't hate to.
According as soon as they're ready, Judge.
There's nothing there, but Adam goes to work, and he comes home and he hands me his whole paycheck that goes to pay for a car that he can't use anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He hugged my son at the funeral, and he said, "I'm so sorry, man. I'll do anything I can to make it up to you." They cried. It was tragic, and actions speak louder than words, and I have yet to see anything toward restitution for the car.
Lori Ann Peterson Martin's son, Adam, gave his car keys to Brian Peden Sr.'s son, Brian Jr. Instead of just listening to the radio, he took a friend for a joyride that ended in tragedy.
Have you been able to reach a resolution?
No, we haven't. Arguments over the value of the car, really.
All right. You two boys sit down for a minute. Would you step up here, please? Mr. Peden, the criminal charges are still pending against your son?
Yes.
Well, that inhibits me in a certain way. It would be difficult for me to take his testimony. Don't know what's going to happen with the criminal case. I certainly wouldn't place him in jeopardy by having him give sworn testimony that could possibly be used against him in a criminal proceeding. I assume you've spoken to your lawyer about that?
Yes.
And he's explained that to you?
Yes.
Quite frankly, I don't think that the facts in this case are too much in dispute. Please stop me if I'm wrong. I don't think
That's really the value of the car. There was major damage to the car prior to the accident. I was fully aware of it.
That's what he said.
Her son and mine had been in my driveway for 12 hours trying to repair the damage so that she
It
was
was
not aware of the
only
damage to
the
the car.
outside of the car, the outside. Adam had rear-ended someone.
I saw a lot more
The
damage to the
hood,
car than that.
Except I took it to a body shop. They said $1,800 to make it pretty. Again, realize that it's a Mitsubishi. It was 91. It had a lot more miles on the everything. He's telling me that he has a doom buggy that's worth $2,000 that needs fixed up, that's worth $2,000, and he's claiming my car is $500. That doesn't.
Well, let me ask you this question. How much of a responsibility do you think that your son has?
My son is out $4,000 if he collects $35 from these people.
He is not going to collect $3,500 from the defendants. What I asked you was, what responsibility do you think your son has for starting this chain of events? He started it. He turned over keys. Whatever he said.
I disagree with you.
Well, but what I'm telling you, you are mistaken.
This boy approached my son and said, "May I borrow the car keys?" You have to realize that there is a pattern of behavior here. This boy sat in my son's car time and time and time again. This was not a one-time thing. I have a witness, I have a written testimony from another boy that said he sat in his car over and over and never stole his car because Brian is not a licensed driver.
I'm not suggesting that he is at fault in this death. What I'm suggesting to you is that you are mistaken when you say he did not start a chain of events by acting irresponsibly so that he has some culpability.
I believe that is why he is getting hit for $4,000. He is eating that. He paid $75 for the car, did not buy the car for him. He is going to work. He hands his whole paycheck over to me, and that's not fair because he wrecked it. He just paid another $150 total bill to get it out of the crime
What I'm
lab.
asking you, Ms. Peterson, is let us assume your suit asks for how much?
$3,500.
$3,500. What I'm suggesting to you is, and what I was hoping that you would do, each of you go outside and decide that since each of your sons was irresponsible in their actions, and I'm not talking about the criminal case. That's a tragedy. There's no way that this young man intended to cause the death of somebody else. He just acted like an idiot, right? That you somehow share those expenses. You don't expect him to pay all those expenses. I'm telling you right now that I wouldn't order it.
Brian said that he was going to give Adam a doom buggy, and we waited for 4 or 5 months, and that never happened. We never saw $1 from Brian toward restitution for any, he said, he hugged my son at the funeral, and he said, "I'm so sorry, man. I'll do anything I can to make it up to you." They cried. It was tragic, and actions speak louder than words, and I have yet to see anything toward restitution for the car.
My understanding is our sons worked out a deal where my son would give her son this dune buggy that he has.
But the father never
That was
contacted
acceptable to
me.
me in that.
How would I have known that?
I don't know. This is something the boys are working out. I assume they had it worked out until you presented your lawsuit to me.
Well, do you have, where's the dune buggy?
It's in Reno.
And when my son asked him a few times to get it,
It's in Reno,
Yes, that's where we're from.
and it's drivable?
Yes.
no,
The dune buggy.
it's not drivable.
Is it?
Yes.
What's wrong with the transmission?
I don't know. I think the shifter was broken up. But last I know, my son had fixed it, and he drove the car.
He drives it.
Where did
He doesn't drive it now because I don't allow him to, but he had been driving the car.
He was unlicensed.
Move over. I'm not going to ask you anything about this case that's pending. You have a dune buggy?
Yes, I do.
Is it drivable?
Yes, it is.
And it's where now?
It's in my backyard, but the transmission is worn out, and it is drivable, but for it to be a reliable car, it would require a new transmission, which I do have.
You have what?
I have a transmission to replace the one that is old.
How much
and
will
worn
it cost to put this dune buggy in working order so that he'll have a car?
I could do it at home for just a matter of transmission mounts, which would probably be no more than a few $100s.
And he's
Okay,
had
and are you
5 months to do that.
Are you prepared to make sure that that dune buggy gets to them within the next 2 weeks?
Yes.
Fine.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
This case is not relevant. The $3,500 is not relevant. The damage to the car is not relevant. I don't understand why you two people are not kissing the ground that you wake up on every day that you have you.
Martin's son, Adam, gave his car keys to Brian Peden Sr.'s son, Brian Jr. Instead of just listening to the radio, he took a friend for a joyride that ended in tragedy.
Well, you see, you did work it out. After a fashion, it may not have been worked out to the satisfaction of Mrs. Peterson, but it certainly worked out to my satisfaction. You, young man, made a tragic mistake. You're never going to do it again. You turned over the car keys to somebody, and you had no right to do that. You knew he was an unlicensed driver. If your friend wanted to sit in your car, and all he wanted to do was sit in your car, then you open up the car door and say, sit in it, and then you're a good buddy. Nobody will ever find out, actually. I mean, I can hear both of your testimony, which I find, quite frankly, considering the death in this case, totally irrelevant about whether you told him he could turn it on and listen to the radio or not, or what happened. It's not relevant. The $3,500 is not relevant. The damage to the car is not relevant. I don't understand why you two people are not kissing the ground that you wake up on every day that you have your two sons.
Because
the boys worked it out.
No, they didn't. Nothing happened in 5 months.
Now
That's
it's going to happen because I'm entering a judgment. And the judgment of this court is absolutely consistent with what these two boys worked out themselves. You have the dune buggy. You're going to put it in operable order. I want you to make sure of that, sir. You assure me that you're going to do that?
I will do that.
He takes it. He'll fix it. Whoever fixes it, I want you to take it to a mechanic and make sure that it's in good running order so that you will have a car. And I expect you, when you're entrusted with this vehicle, to keep it safe, not turn it over to anybody else. I don't think you're going to do that again. Was that the arrangement that you had worked out within the exchange of this dune buggy?
Yeah.
Yes. That's the judgment of the court. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Versus Dodge. All parties on Baker versus Dodge. Step forward, please.
Martin and Kate Baker say their neighbors Patricia Dodge Kennedy and husband Jim Kennedy got mad because they complained about the noise. They want Patricia to pay for the night it rained eggs.
Order. All rise. Judges, number 25 on the calendar in the matter of Baker versus Dodge.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. and Mrs. Baker, your complaint alleges that your neighbor, Miss Dodge, vandalized your home.
That's correct.
Yes.
And you are seeking damages in the amount of $5,000. There is a countersuit for harassment also in the amount of $5,000. A wonderful coincidence. I assume that this is a diagram of your home.
Yes.
Would you please Would you please explain to me first how this vandalism took place, what the nature of the vandalism was, and then I'm going to ask you why you think it took place. So you want to go over to the diagram and show me how this happened, where you live, where she lives?
Your Honor, on the night of October 7th, my wife and I were just going to bed at the rear of our house in the master bedroom here. The children we have 2 young children. They were sleeping at the time. This was around 10:30. A party, quite a raucous party, had already started up at that time over here in this apartment building on the 2nd floor where the defendant lives. Most of it, if not all of the party, was taking place on an open-air balcony here. It was loud enough that we were unable to get to sleep, but we decided we'd let him carry on for a little while longer, and if it went on past midnight, then we'd call the police and have them come by and tell them to quiet down a little. So at 12 o'clock, just after 12, I called the local police department. Police officer, Officer Park, came and spoke to the defendant, Patricia Dodge. We were able to hear most of that conversation from our bedroom as it took place on the open-air balcony here. Miss Dodge was very drunk, very belligerent, very rude.
Well, those are conclusions. Do you want to tell me what you heard her say? If you say you could hear the conversation.
I heard her say that she was going to trash the place, referring to our place. She told the police officer, she said, I'm going to trash their place. The police officer advised her against that, told her to keep the noise down, and so on. After a while, I guess when he was satisfied, he left, and the noise did quieten down.
Did?
For a few minutes. Almost as soon as the police officer had left, as we were settling down to try and get to sleep, we heard some crashing noises on our house, like objects being thrown at the house. I didn't know if it was rocks, stones, what it was. I got straight on the phone to the police department, told them that someone was throwing things at our house, and they were hitting all over the house, at the back here and round at the front. And at that time, I heard people running down from the second floor apartment here. 2 people.
Could you tell it was 2 people?
There are wooden steps, and I could hear 2 sets of footsteps. And I could see from the window the shadow of shadowy figures, 2 figures. As I was on the phone to the police dispatcher at the police department, I stood at the front of the house here with the lights out, looking through a small hatch in the front door. As I was speaking to the dispatcher, I saw the defendant, Patricia Dodge, and another woman standing out front throwing eggs at our house and at our car, which is parked right here. Patricia Dodge and her friend were standing in various parts of the street, and they were running to and fro to the apartment here. While this was going on, our son, Henry, who's just 2, he was woken up. He was very upset. He didn't know what was going on. All he knew was stuff was being thrown at the house. He was really upset. The police came just as Patricia Dodge and her girlfriend went back to their apartment. Whether they were done throwing eggs at that time, I don't know. Maybe they were going back for more ammunition.
Don't speculate what they were doing. They went back to the apartment.
I came out and spoke to the policeman.
Describe the house to me. Describe what you saw.
I'm sorry,
Describe the house to me at that time. You said there were things thrown at the house.
There were eggs all over the front of the house. There were eggs all over the car. The next day, we discovered eggs all over the back porch here.
Did you take any photographs of the damage, sir?
Yes, we did.
Do you have them?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
May I see them, please?
And the interesting thing about the eggs at the rear is that they could only have been thrown over the fence, over our back fence, by someone in the second floor of this apartment building. By the time we were done cleaning up, it had to have been about 4 o'clock in the morning. And you don't want to leave eggs to sit overnight. So we made sure to clean them up as best we could.
I'm looking at these photographs, quite frankly. What do you want to show me with regard to this photograph?
Would you like me to step up?
Oh, there's an egg in the flower pot. I see.
That's where it must have ricocheted off the step there, or off the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I am Patricia Kennedy and Patricia Dodge Kennedy, and I live in apartment D, which is on that diagram over there. On the evening, which the plaintiff is referring to, my husband and I did have a few people over.
Who was your husband?
This gentleman right here. We did have a few people over, and after midnight, a police officer did come to our house. I had a lengthy conversation with him and explained to him how we've been harassed by these people. The officer has been to our house on numerous occasions as a result of numerous times these people have called and complained about noise. Now, noise to these people are me and my husband and maybe 2 other people sitting on our porch speaking in the tone that I have right now. This is Roy, my downstairs neighbor. He lives below us, and he has a 5-month-old baby and has never heard us at all. And
that's not true, Your Honor.
And on the evening that the officer came to my house, I had people over, and once the officer left, I told people to leave. There was about 8 people there. I walked my friends downstairs, went around the building, over where the parking lot is, and said goodbye to my friends, and they drove away. And I was walking back around, and I saw the cops coming back down my street. So I walked up and asked what was going on, and they were speaking to Mr. Baker. Then I went upstairs to my house, to my apartment, and my husband and I went to bed. About 20 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. Meanwhile, I'm sleeping. Knock on my door, and I get up to answer it. And it is an officer, tells me to put my hands behind my back. He is arresting me for a citizen's arrest for vandalism, on the word of Mr. Baker. So I was taken to the Fullerton Police Department and was held there for an hour and was arrested, fingerprinted, on a citizen's arrest. And then I went to court, and there was no case. There was nothing. They dropped everything.
A loud party, the police, and tossed eggs. Judge Judy continues in a moment. Martin and Kate Baker say their neighbors Patricia Dodge Kennedy and husband Jim Kennedy got mad because they complained about the noise. They want Patricia to pay for the night it rained eggs.
Did you drop a case that you had filed against the defendant?
It wasn't up to me, Your Honor. It was a citizen's arrest, and it was the district attorney's office that dropped the case. They were pursuing the case.
They rejected it.
We sought recourse through the civil court, which is why we're here today.
Well, I understand that. Did you speak to the district attorney?
No, they didn't contact me at all.
So they just dropped the case completely?
Presumably they have a heavy caseload and they didn't see
Well,
fit to
that's
pursue
also
it.
a conclusion. But you never told anyone that you wanted to drop this case?
That's right.
Okay, it was the district attorney that made that judgment.
Yes.
Miss Dodge, Mr. Baker says that he saw you throwing eggs at his house. Someone clearly threw eggs at his house based upon these photographs.
But it was not me.
He says it was you.
It wasn't me.
I watched her out of the hatch, Your Honor. I don't know who else it could have been. It's a very quiet neighborhood. We don't get too many people coming around throwing eggs in the middle of the night for no reason.
It's not a quiet neighborhood. We live on two major cross streets.
It's not since they moved in, Your Honor. It used to be a quiet neighborhood.
You have any witnesses who were there that evening?
Well, my wife is here.
Well, I assume your wife is going to tell me exactly what you told me, sir. Do you have any other witnesses? I see this person sitting here.
This is our neighbor, Kathy Kemp, and she's lived in the neighborhood for about 9 years and said that there's never been a problem with this apartment building until these people moved in.
Well, would you step up here, please? Would you tell me your name?
My name is Kathy Kemp.
Ms. Kemp, can you go over the board and show me where you live in relation to these folks?
Okay, I live in a back house. This is the Malvern Avenue, and I live way behind here. And this is my front yard. So my house, I can see the Dodge's apartment here, which I have witnessed a lot of noise from their parties. And I myself have literally had to go out my front door and shout, please keep the noise down or shut up.
That's not true.
Did you hear the noise that particular evening?
Yes, I did.
Describe what you heard.
I heard a lot of loud talking, laughing, and it was all out in their patio area where they held their parties a lot.
Did you witness any of the vandalism that happened to
No,
the
I did not.
house? Did you see any of the vandalism the next day?
No, I did not.
Did you see the house the next day?
No, I did not. I had to go to work that next day.
Excuse me, Your Honor. We also have a copy of the police report here in which the officer states that the defendant had told him quite clearly that she threatened to trash our place.
May I see the police report, please?
I did
It's
not
on
say
the
that.
last page there.
I did not say that.
And her demeanor is listed as drunk and belligerent on the
take a
police
look at it.
department.
Well, police reports are admissible in court because they are business records. And according to this police report, Ms. Dodge, and this is a direct quote from a police officer, you said that you were going to trash their place when the police officer left. So you think the police officer is lying about putting that in the report?
I did not say that.
Did you tell the police it was probably your friends who threw the eggs?
I might have. It wasn't me.
Did you tell the police that it was your friends who threw the eggs?
I might have.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Martin and Kate Baker say their neighbors Patricia Dodge Kennedy and husband Jim Kennedy got mad because they complained about the noise. They want Patricia to pay for the night it rained eggs.
Do you know that in the police report that the police officer described your speech as slurred?
No. If I have one question. If I was so intoxicated, why would he have released me an hour later?
I don't know why.
If I was so intoxicated, I mean, don't you think he would have kept me from being drunk in public? He told
you
me
weren't
that
you weren't in public. You were in your house. But I'm just telling you that this is the way the police officer described you.
He thought I was sober enough to go home. He released me.
Madam, it is not a crime to be drunk. Okay, do you have any witnesses you want me to hear?
On the count of two.
This is just my neighbor, Roy. He lives downstairs from us, and he has lived there for 4 years. And
Just a second, step up. Roy what?
Gamel.
Mr. Gamel, you live downstairs with whom, sir?
With my wife. And my child.
Don't help him. Were you aware of the events of that evening?
Actually, no. My wife and I, we've never really heard anything from Trish and Jim's apartment. We live not directly below them, but one up, and we never hear anything.
Were you aware of the events of that evening? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
So you didn't hear the police come to the house?
No.
On either occasion that they came to the house?
No.
Thank you. You have any other witnesses that you want me to hear, Ms. Dodge?
I just want to speak on the countersuit.
You're her husband?
Yes. These people have harassed us constantly. They stare at us. They hold their little kid over the fence and instruct the kid to say hi to us.
That's not true. The fence is 6 feet high.
Go ahead, finish.
And I mean, it's constant. If we have two people on the balcony talking, they'll call the police on us every time, and it's like we had no peace. We had to seek to get out of our lease as a result of them because of the constant harassment. They watch us all the time. With no privacy.
They did not seek to get out of their lease. They were evicted.
I have evidence that we did seek to get out of our lease.
We terminated our lease. We were not evicted for your information. Okay?
Listen to me. This is...
We have evidence.
It doesn't make any difference whether you were evicted or whether you got out of the lease yourself.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
I'm going to deal with your counterclaim first. Your counterclaim is for harassment, and that is if they had harassed you without just cause. And if they had you arrested without just cause. And I believe that based upon the evidence that I've heard today, there was probable cause to believe that you were responsible for the vandalism on their home. By your own admission, while you say it wasn't you, you told the police it was probably your friends who vandalized the home. The same friends who were involved in this party that took place outside in your house. So whether you did it, and he says you did it, or your friends did it, the fact that the Bakers had called the police and had you arrested on this citizen's complaint was not a form of harassment. Their property was damaged. So I am dismissing your countersuit because there's no basis for a countersuit. The arrest was made with probable cause. The question is whether, in fact, you did, in fact, vandalize their property. I've read the police report. The police report clearly indicates that you were drunk, and I'm going to tell you why, because it says your speech was slurred. It says that despite the fact that there were police officers there, law enforcement officials, you threatened in front of the law enforcement official to trash their house as soon as the police left. I don't see any reason that the police officer would file a false report unless you can demonstrate to me that the police is in some way related to these people. Police officers are trained to write down things that happen. I assume he is a stranger to both of you, and he wrote down what you said. Now, any normal person acting with a clear head would not say to the police, I'm going to commit a crime as soon as you leave here. So I find that based upon those two things, I'm ruling now, that based upon those two things, you were in fact intoxicated on that evening. And I believe, Mr. Baker, that when he looked outside, he saw you and another female throwing eggs at his house. Somebody threw eggs at his house. He says that he clearly saw it was you that threw eggs at his house. And, quiet, sir. I'm ruling now. Okay. Don't you understand?
But I understand that. But I'm just saying, he said he heard the eggs, and then he says he looked out and saw it. I don't understand how he could hear it and then have the time to go out and then look through the door and actually see her do it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Did I just tell you that I was ruling now? That I finished hearing your testimony? I finished hearing their testimony? Do you understand that?
Yeah, but I don't think you gave a fair...
That's my job. I am supposed to determine the credibility of people who testify here. And based upon that, I'm telling you what my determination is. My determination is that your wife vandalized their house. Now, the question is one of damages. And I will tell you right now, Mr. Baker, none of the damages that I saw to your house with regard to the eggs anywhere reached close to $5,000 worth of damage.
Yes, I agree.
Well, I'm glad that you agree. You were inconvenienced on that evening. The Dodgers, I assume, have moved out of your place. I assume that it took you some time to clean up the eggs on your house.
Our son is still scared of them. That's why we're claiming emotional distress.
Mr. Baker, I don't have any expert testimony from a child psychiatrist or psychologist that your son has been permanently traumatized as a result of eggs being thrown at your house. Let's not be foolish, sir. But I think that you should have some compensation for that evening, and I am awarding you $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
We were robbed. It's a joke. We were harassed.
These people have harassed us. They're naked kids run around in the thing. They have a weird cultish religion that they follow, and as a result,
they're ministers, and if anybody needs to get married,
yeah, they'll marry you if you pay $20 and they'll marry you.
So these guys haven't read the Constitution lately. We have a right to practice any religion we like. Our kids have a right. Our kids are 2 and 3 years old. They have a right to go naked in their own private backyard. These guys should read the Constitution.
How many times did you lie to the police? How many lies did you have to tell the police? Oh yeah, how come every time you'd call?
I think it's obvious who lied to the police.
The last people that lived there, I could have brought her too. They were harassed. She harassed her as well.
To watch out for those neighbors. That's why she moved forward.
And now, the next case.
All parties on Wilson versus Cromwell. Step forward, please.
Performers Melvin and Lorna Wilson say they were cheated when Vaughn Cromwell canceled a concert in Mexico. Vaughn says it was the Federales who shut him down.
This is case number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson versus Cromwell.
Thank you.
The parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Okay. First, would you tell me how much you're suing him for?
$3,070.
Well, that's what I don't understand. You had said you had a contract. Who are you, by the way?
I'm Melvin Wilson, the performer that was supposed to perform in Puerto Vallarta.
He's the co-plaintiff.
I'm the co-plaintiff.
Okay. You say you were supposed to perform at an event he was producing in Mexico, and that you got there, the event was canceled.
Yes.
You had a contract for $2,000?
Right.
Okay, why don't you tell me about it?
Okay. I was contacted by a talent coordinator named Sharon Penix.
Don't read anything, tell me.
Okay. She asked us if we'd be interested in doing this particular show. And we agreed to do it for an honorarium of $2,000 plus expenses. We received plane tickets.
Did you have a contract?
Yes, I do. I have everything here. Did you want copies of all
I just want
this?
like a contract. Okay. You entered into a contract with him.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of the contract was $2,000.
Yes.
It's the same contract. Okay. So what happened?
So the day before we left, we hadn't received our deposit, and we spoke with Mr. Cromwell on the phone, and he guaranteed us that the money was in the bank from his investor, but it was on hold.
Whatever. You got there?
No, we haven't got to. We're still in California.
Okay, so you went there without any money, just plane tickets?
Plane tickets and hotel reservations because we had a guarantee of getting paid in full.
So what happened when you got there?
When we got there, I kept checking on rehearsal. I kept checking on sound checks. Nobody was talking. Everybody was very
When did he
evasive
tell
and
you
rude.
the event was canceled?
About 4 hours before the show on Saturday, the day of the performance.
Now, my last question to you before I go to him is, why are you suing for $3,070 when your original contract was for $2,000?
Because of the expenses we incurred trying to fulfill the contract.
Like what?
Like, I had to give each person about $100 for expenses. There were 5 people. We had to pay for tickets to get to the airport on an airport shuttle. We had babysitting fees incurred because we left town. We had transportation to and from the airport in Puerto Vallarta. We each had to get citizenship affidavits at the airport because when we asked what kind of things we needed to go to Mexico, we were told that we only needed a driver's license and a Social Security card, which is not true. It costs money to have phone privileges at the hotel.
Listen to me. This just says the guaranteed fee was $2,000. Am I missing something in this contract that provides for the kinds of expenses that you're talking about? It's not in here, is it?
No.
Well, then this is what the contract says. You're suing him for breach of contract. You can't add to the contract. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So nowhere in this contract does it talk about anything about babysitting expenses or anything else. It talks about $2,000 that you were supposed to be paid. Period.
Right.
That's what's in the four corners of your agreement. Yes. And if you wanted anything else, what you have to do is you have to put it in a contract. You can't add things to a contract. Do you understand that? Yes. Okay.
A Mexican concert is canceled, but the performers still want to get paid. Judge Judy returns in a moment. Performers Melvin and Lorna Wilson say they were cheated when Vaughn Cromwell canceled a concert in Mexico. Vaughn says it was the Federales who shut him down.
Now, so you owe him $2,000. You canceled the contract. Why?
Well, basically the show was postponed. The investor that she talked about, I do have a copy of that agreement.
I'm not interested in the investor.
Okay.
The investor didn't sign this contract. You did.
Well, basically what happened was the funds were supposed to have been transferred into my account. The funds never got transferred into my account. But first of all, let me just back up to tell you a little bit about my side of the story. In that contract, it says that if the event was canceled, then you can look at cancellation. If, in fact, the performance was canceled 2 weeks prior to the engagement, then I stated in the contract that I would pay them $1,000.
Yeah, but it wasn't canceled.
It was canceled.
The event they put cancel any performance less than 2 weeks before the date.
The reason that, Your Honor, if I can...
I read your answer, sir. Your answer suggested to me a payoff to the mayor's wife of 10% so that you could get a tax-exempt status as a charitable organization. Now, look into my eyes and you tell me if I'm mistaken.
You're mistaken. You are. You're mistaken. What I'm saying to you is. Let me see if I got this answer right here. Let me see if I got this answer right here. I have the documents. Let me give you the documents.
I'm not interested in the documents that come from Mexico, sir, with the mayor's wife's name on it. It says...
But they control the charity.
I had an agreement with a local charity known as DIF, controlled by the mayor's wife.
That's right.
To pay 10% of the profits.
That's right.
Then you would get a charitable deduction.
But 10% of the profits went to the organization DIF. She ran the organization. Anyone in office there
wonderful.
Runs that organization. I have the documents. Can I show you the documents? This is not a fabricated story.
Let us assume, sir, that you canceled the event for the reason that you just told me. Let me try to put it in a nutshell. You got there and you found out that 57% of the profits that you were going to make were going to go to the Federales in Mexico, so you decided not to do the concert.
Well, no, not just that.
But you did say that.
I did say what?
You did say you weren't going to give them your money.
No, what I said to them, why should they have to get 57%? Listen, there was $100,000 outstanding, okay? And
you're even having a hard time telling me the story with a straight face, sir. You know that?
No, what I'm saying is there was $100,000 outstanding that needed to be paid. And what I'm saying is, why should I go over with $100,000 that's given to me by an investor just to give them $57,000?
Well, that's what I just said to you. You didn't want to pay out 57% of your money, so you canceled the contract. I mean, you said it in 10 minutes, and I said it in 2 seconds. Yeah, baloney. Baloney. You're not going back. You're not going back to Mexico.
In the beginning.
Just a second.
No.
All right. Listen. There is, within four corners of this agreement, a cancellation clause. You read the agreement, you signed it, correct? Yes. The cancellation clause says that if the agreement is canceled, if the concert is canceled, he's got to pay you $1,000. That's what it says. Where's her $1,000?
The wire transfer never happened on my account. It's the truth.
Well, just a second.
It's a lot of these floating around.
A lot of these thousands floating around?
A lot of those checks floating around.
There is a lot of those
I put a stop payment on that.
Yeah,
because the wire transfer did not happen on my account from the investment.
Just a second. She's absolutely right. Listen, you're winning so far. I mean, you lost a little bit, but you know that you're entitled to $1,000. And it seems to me that at this point, you're winning. Listen, you're in business. They didn't make an agreement with your investor. They made an agreement with you. Right. You have a very formal contract that seems to provide for all eventualities. Flood, famine, frogs, feast, everything else. It's provided for in there. But one of the things that's provided for, if you cancel, you have to pay her $1,000. So say I'm wrong. Say I should have paid her the $1,000. You still think you're right?
I don't think they're wrong.
No. I want you to say.
I don't think they're wrong.
Fine. Then you think you owe them the $1,000.
The situation was out of my control.
Yes, sir. Sometimes you make a lot of money when you're doing concerts, right? And sometimes you lose money. Now, it was your poor business affairs that caused you to postpone this concert. Mm-hmm. You cannot visit that on these people. You had a contract with them. You want to be in business and be a respected part of the entertainment business. You don't go around breaching contracts and writing out checks and then canceling them. Otherwise, people aren't going to trust you.
Those funds were not in my account as promised to me.
Take the money out of another account. Take the money out of your own pocket to pay your debts. They did not have an agreement with your investor. Sometimes you have an investor, they make a lot of money, you make a lot of money, and sometimes you don't. You've got to take your lumps when you're in business as well as taking the profits, sir. But your good name in business is worth more than $1,000.
Yeah, I understand that.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000 agreed pursuant to the contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse, you may step out, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Something went wrong and they didn't tell me.
I knocked on your bedroom door on Saturday morning and you wouldn't even face me.
Saturday
you sent
morning?
me to Lynn Jeter's door. Yes,
Saturday morning?
Yes, Saturday morning. You were there. You wouldn't even open the door and face me. You sent me to Lynn's door.
Something slimy was going on and you weren't going to do everything started.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu bức tranh một cô bé đang tưới và một quả dâu tây nha. Sĩ tô tóc màu vàng. Màu hồng một quả dâu tây. Áo màu hồng. Lấy màu xanh tô vào lá. màu đỏ vào quả dâu tây. Màu đen vào giày. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh hình ảnh một cô bé đang tưới nước cho quả dâu tây. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.